Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 2 of the series. Chapter 19, 19-019, Selling Tofu. 19 Chapter 019, Selling Tofu. Zhuang Qingsui then got off the bullock cart. No need for manners. The men smiled, waiting until the two sisters had fully disembarked before cracking his whip and driving the cart away. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui, each carrying a bamboo basket full of tofu, looked around the street before finally finding an open space to set their baskets down. To their left was a vendor selling fried chopped rice cake and to their right was a pea cake vendor. Both sold food items that required delicate care, unable to withstand dust or force, hence this clean area was a suitable place to sell their tofu. They opened their bamboo baskets, placing a soft white block of tofu on top, thus their small stall was established. Zhuang Qingning cleared her throat and began to hawk her goods. Tofu for sale, delicious tofu here, it's a coin for a caddy, tofu here, tofu. After hearing her sister's calls, Zhuang Qingsui, who had initially been hesitant to call out, also began to loudly peddle their goods following her sister's lead. This lasted the time it took for a cup of tea to steep. Many people passed by and plenty glanced their way upon hearing the shouts of tofu, but not a single one stopped to inspect their goods, let alone make a purchase. Big sister, why isn't anyone buying our tofu? Zhuang Qingsui's face was as crumpled as a bun. Standing here for such a long time with their throats going dry from shouting, yet no one had shown any interest in their tofu. The feeling of defeat was self-evident. Especially considering the vendor selling pea cake next to them had sold 2 portions, while the vendor selling fried chopped rice cake had sold 3, their pitiful sales seemed even more dismal by comparison. Zhuang Qingsui looked around somewhat gloomily, her eyes welling up with tears. Zhuang Qingning also frowned slightly. You two don't usually come to town, do you? The kindly elderly woman next door selling fried chopped rice cake, Mrs. Liu, asked, seeing the dejected expressions on the sisters' faces. Yes, it's our first time coming to town to sell tofu, we rarely come here. Zhuang Qingning responded politely, sidling closer to the old woman's side with a smile and asking, it seems like you might know something. Could you share it with us? To tell you the truth, my sister and I have been relying on each other at home. We managed to find the means of making a living by grinding tofu to sell. If we can't sell the tofu and end up losing rather than making money, life won't be easy. We would be extremely grateful if you could give us some advice. Hearing this, Mrs. Liu chuckled, the only reason I'm saying anything is because I see you two youngsters out here selling tofu with no adults in sight. I understand that you're probably orphans, and that's why I'm speaking up. As newcomers to selling goods in town, you wouldn't know that there's already a well-established tofu shop in town called Changji Tofu. The tofu they grind is made with physalis, which gives it a great flavor and longevity. It's also reasonably priced. Usually, the townsfolk only recognize Changji Tofu when they want to buy tofu. A few years ago, there was a tofu shop called Mrs. Wen's Tofu from a nearby village. I heard it was run by a widow. They also made their tofu with physalis, and its taste could compare with Changji's. Unfortunately, they stopped operating a couple of years ago due to old age. The tofu you two youngsters grind definitely can't compete with Changji's, so it's normal that no one comes to buy it. Listen to me and just treat this experience as a lesson. You two should find something else to do. You can't keep this tofu business going in our town. Upon hearing this, Zhuang Qingsui's face became even more gloomy. At first, they had been afraid that they wouldn't be able to rent the tofu shop, then they were afraid they wouldn't be able to produce tofu. Now they had rented the tofu shop, and had made tofu. They even brought it to the market, but they were told the tofu wouldn't sell. Life was really too hard. Zhuang Qingsui's tears were about to fall. However, Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile, thank you, Mrs. Liu, for the reminder and for letting us know the reason. Since you know, you should pack up early. Think of something else, find another way to survive. You two seem thin and sallow, I can't help but feel sorry for you. Mrs. Liu sighed, if the tofu business is a loss, just let it be a loss. There are ups and downs in business, you just have bad luck. Thank you for thinking for us. Zhuang Qingning smiled, but we've already made this first batch of tofu, and we've hauled it all the way here to sell. We have to figure out a way to sell the tofu. That's true, and since you've already made the tofu, it would be a waste to just throw it away, but... Unable to finish her sentence, Mrs. Lu fell silent. Those orphan children, trying to make money and survive, had carried that heavy tofu to town. Now she was telling them that the tofu wouldn't sell. It sounded harsh and was also distressing. All right, since you're already here, just go ahead and sell your tofu. Exactly, since we're already in town, we must focus on selling this tofu. Zhuang Qingning laughed with her eyes twinkling. She used the tofu knife to cut the block into half-inch cubes, but Mrs. Lu, please taste our tofu. It is not inferior to the tofu made by the tofu shop you mentioned. Those poor girls couldn't even sell their tofu. It wasn't really right for her to take a piece of their product. Mrs. Lu hesitated a moment. Mrs. Lu, don't be polite. Please taste it. Only after you've tasted it can you judge whether our tofu is delicious, right? Zhuang Qingning picked up a piece of tofu with a clean cloche and handed it to Mrs. Lu. If she rejected their offer now, it would seem insincere. So, Mrs. Lu smiled and picked up the tofu. All right, I'll taste it then. Saying this, she put the tofu in her mouth. Ah! After a couple of bites, Mrs. Lu was surprised. This tofu was indeed very delicious, soft and fragrant, even better, in fact, than the tofu from Changji. The tofu tasted so good that she was reluctant to swallow. Your tofu, Mrs. Lu hesitated to swallow the tofu, staring at the white, tender tofu resting on top of the bamboo basket with disbelief. How is it? Zhuang Qingning's eyes lit up as she smiled and asked. It's delicious. Mrs. Lu exclaimed, this tofu is so soft and elastic, and incredibly fragrant. It's already so delicious raw, if you cook it, won't it taste even more heavenly? She continued, how did you make this tofu? How come it's so delicious? Chapter 20, 020 Free Tasting. Chapter 20, Chapter 020 Free Tasting. This is a family craft, not to be shared. Zhuang Qingning smiled and said, since you find it tasty, ma'am, would you like 2 more pieces? How could one simply eat tofu without paying? I indeed find the taste good, and I was planning to buy some tofu in the afternoon to cook with. I was going to stop by the Changji tofu shop after I finished selling my fried chop rice cake. Now it seems like I don't have to, I can buy it from you directly. While speaking, Mrs. Lu took out her purse. You said your tofu is 1 coin per tael. Give me 2 taels. Sure thing. Zhuang Qingning happily agreed, weighing the tofu carefully. Since it's my first day of business, I'm offering 2.5 taels of tofu for 2 coins. I'll give you 3 taels. Mrs. Lu, a seasoned small business owner, knew the weight as soon as she held it in her hand. Her smile broadened as she handed over the money. Thank you, ma'am. Zhuang Qingning accepted with a bright smile. What's there to thank for? It's natural to pay for what you buy, Mrs. Lu said. Are you selling tofu again tomorrow? My grandson at home loves tofu balls. He won't eat properly if there aren't any tofu balls in the soup or in his meals. Your tofu is delicious, so I guess the fried tofu balls would be as well. If you come tomorrow, I'll buy again. My tofu hot pot is bubbling away at home, how could I possibly stop? Zhuang Qingning smiled, I'll keep a piece for you tomorrow, ma'am. Sure thing. Mrs. Lu grinned, placing the tofu carefully in the basket underneath her fried chop rice cake. Hey, I say, is your tofu really as delicious as you claim it to be? On the side selling pea cake was an old man named Guhatong. Seeing Mrs. Lu's prompt purchase, he expressed surprise, are you two putting on some kind of show? I didn't like what you just said. Mrs. Lu's face dropped instantly when she heard this. At my age, do you think I'd lie? Moreover, I've been selling my fried chop rice cake here for a long time. Have you ever seen me praising others' things like this? These 2 girls are here for the first time yet you think they'd trick me? For this tofu priced 1 coin per tael, do you really think I'd go through all that trouble? You have a point. Guhatong stroked his sparse goatee, contemplating the tofu in front of Zhuang Qingning. Is this tofu really better than the one from Changji tofu shop? Why not try it to find out? Zhuang Qingning suggested, if it's not tasty, don't buy it. There's no harm in trying a piece. Curious why Mrs. Lu, who usually looked down on his pea cake, would complement this tofu, Guhatong decided to give it a try himself. After tasting, Guhatong was quite surprised. Wow, this really is better than the tofu from Changji Tofu Shop. While he was speaking, he picked up another piece to eat. This isn't bad at all. I can go home and fry it, or mix it with chives and some glass noodles, even stuff it into vegetarian buns with some garlic. What did I say? Mrs. Lu rolled her eyes at Guhatong. This tofu is delicious, isn't it? Can I fool you with a piece of tofu? How about it, do you want to buy some to fry for lunch? Well. Guhatong shrank his neck. I barely make any money selling pea cakes every day. Do you know how much there is left for me after giving it to my family? If one coin is missing, I'll be interrogated. My family didn't ask me to buy tofu, how dare I do so? So you're not buying after all this talk? Mrs. Lu scoffed. You just took 2 pieces of her tofu, and at your age, you still want to freeload off others. Aren't you ashamed? Who said I freeloaded off her? Hearing this, Guhatong's face turned red to the roots of his ears. He declared, I just didn't buy it today. It doesn't mean I won't buy it tomorrow. I'll discuss it with my family when I go home. If they agree, I'll buy a piece. Besides, they came to sell tofu here, it's not a one-time thing. I will still have many opportunities to buy in the future, won't I? All this talk is because you can't make decisions on your own. Mrs. Lu dismissed him and turned her direction to Zhuang Qingning. You are a good girl, I was wrong to discourage you from selling tofu. The tofu tastes good. Take your time, and I'm sure you will do well. I'll take your lucky words, ma'am. Zhuang Qingning smiled, her eyes curved, started to yell to attract customers. Tofu, tofu. Here, free tasting, try before you buy. 1 coin per tail, 2.5 tails for 2 coins, get the most value for your money, you won't get ripped off. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui took the initiative to greet passers-by, inviting them to taste the tofu they made. The no-loss marketing method of offering trial eats was always most reassuring to customers and most effective. It's only a piece of tofu to taste. If it's good, you can buy it, if it's not, you don't have to. In the final calculation, you don't lose anything. Even better, you get to taste someone else's tofu for free, so why not? When people heard Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui offering free tasting, some of them stopped. Is your tofu really free? A rather short, round-faced woman with a bamboo basket on her arm stopped and approached. Yes, we offer 2 free pieces for tasting. Would you like to try it, ma'am? If you find it tasty, you can buy it. If not, we wouldn't force you to. Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile. Initially, the woman was hesitant, skeptical of any freebies. She was afraid there was a catch. But seeing that Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui were the only 2 women at the tofu stall and that they didn't strike her as cunning, she felt reassured that even if she didn't buy their tofu, they couldn't do anything to her. Finally, Mrs. Yu nodded and let Zhuang Qingning give her a piece to taste. This tofu is indeed tasty. After tasting, she nodded repeatedly, and the price is not expensive either. But it's just me and my husband at home, so we only need 1 tail. However, for your 2 coins for 2.5 tails deal, it's a bit of a loss for me to pay only 1 coin for 1 tail. You give me 1 tail and 2 tails, we both avoid a loss. Deal. Zhuang Qingning agreed readily, using her tofu knife to measure. She made sure to give the full 1 tail and 2 tails. Chapter 21, Flourishing. Chapter 21, Flourishing. Here you go, take this tofu. If you find it good, please visit again. My sister and one will frequently be here selling tofu. This young lady, you really have the knack for business, and your words give me pleasure, the old woman chuckled. After all, one really enjoy this tofu. 1 foot 11 inches, take it home and let the head of the household try some too. If he also likes it, I'll come regularly to buy. All right then, take care, auntie. Zhuang Qingning collected the coins and continued to attract attention to her tofu. Business often works that way. The more one is ignored, the more desolate it becomes. But the more one sells, the more people will come to buy. The opening of this tofu stall, coupled with the attraction of free tasting, only led to more and more people coming to taste the tofu. And most of the people who came to taste ended up buying some, only rarely a small piece or a larger piece. There were a few who did not buy anything, evidently just looking to take advantage of the free samples or liking the tofu but unwilling to part with their money. Zhuang Qingning, however, did not care and continued to greet them with a smile and bid them farewell in the same way. Such a soft smile proved comforting to people, and whether they bought tofu or not, their impression of Zhuang Qingning and their affection for her grew by quite a bit. The tofu in the bamboo basket was sold out piece after piece. Soon enough, only the last piece was left. Zhuang Qingning simply didn't sell it, tidying up the bamboo basket and cloche, preparing to call it a day. The last piece of tofu was divided into 3 portions with a tofu knife. One portion was kept for their own cooking, while the other 2 were given away to Aunt Lu, who sold the fried chop rice cakes, and to Guhatong, who sold pea cakes. How could we accept? Mrs. Lu and Guhatong were taken aback, both of them waved their hands in refusal. I owe much of today's success to both of you. Without your assistance, I wouldn't have sold as much tofu. This piece of tofu is not worth much, so please take it. It's nearly noon, please take this home for your family to taste. If you refuse to accept it, it will mean that you consider my tofu worthless. To be honest, my sister and I have just started selling tofu here. We aren't familiar with the town, and we will certainly need your help in the future. Please guide us in our endeavors. Hearing Zhuang Qingning's heartfelt words, if they didn't accept, it would create a distance between them. As all of them had stalls in the town market and were bound to run into each other frequently, there was no need to nitpick about such a small token of gratitude. So, Mrs. Lu and Guhatong accepted the tofu, and each of them gave something in return. Mrs. Lu gave a piece of fried chop rice cake and Guhatong gave a small piece of pea cake. It's almost noon now, and you both must be starving. These snacks may not suffice as a complete meal, but they should hold you over for now. Try to eat something. Mrs. Lu chuckled. Thank you, Aunt and Uncle. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui thanked them, packed up their bamboo basket, and bid Mrs. Lu and Guhatong goodbye. Ding, congratulations. The host has completed the first step of the tofu sales task by selling the first basket of tofu. The host earns a reward, a random lucky bag, 1 point in sales experience. Cumulatively, the host has earned 10 points of sales experience, which can be redeemed for a mapo tofu recipe. Selling tofu and earning rewards, that's perfect. But this random lucky bag. Zhuang Qingning directly confirmed to open it in her mind. Congratulations. The host has received the item spring fragments too. Fragments. What are they? Random lucky bag items can be exchanged for high-end objects according to the host's level. High-end object exchange is not yet available, you'll have to wait before you can view the convertible items. Okay, apparently, they are of no use for the moment, so let's just keep them. This mapo tofu recipe, however, is precious. Zhuang Qingning couldn't help but touch her chin, lost in thought. Sister, I never thought we could sell our tofu so well, exclaimed Zhuang Qingsui excitedly on the way home. The idea of offering free samples was brilliant. At first, one was worried about losing profits if we let people eat without buying, but one never imagined that we'd only give out 1 free sample and sell all the rest of our tofu. Yes, that's the strategy. Our tofu didn't have any reputation and people usually trust well-known brands. However hard we claim how tasty our tofu is, people won't believe us and they dare not risk buying a piece to taste. Only by offering something they believe to be a good deal will they dare to try it. After tasting, they'll find our tofu tasty and will be willing to buy some. Although it seems like a loss at the start, it speeds up the process of selling our tofu and prevents us from incurring losses from unsold tofu. Once people try it and find our tofu delicious, even if we stop offering free samples, they will still prefer our tofu. That's how a reputation is slowly built. Zhuang Qingning explained. Yes, it seems like a bit of a loss, but actually, we earn even more. Zhuang Qingsui nodded seriously. Yes, that's the principle. Zhuang Qingning ruffled Zhuang Qingsui's hair. Over these few days standing on their own, even their meals weren't lavish, at least they were filling. Zhuang Qingsui's complexion looked much better than before, her hair, originally pale for lack of nutrition, seemed to have developed some luster. Everything seemed to be heading in a positive direction. Zhuang Qingning couldn't help but crack a smile. Buns. Hot meat buns. Generously filled with juicy meat, guaranteed to be delicious. The cries of the bun seller resonated in the air while the delicious smell wafted into their noses. Zhuang Qingning's stomach timingly grumbled. "Qingsui, are you hungry? I'll buy meat buns for you." Zhuang Qingning led Zhuang Qingsui over to buy buns. Piping hot meat buns, stuffed with green onions and pork, were priced at 2 for 1 coin. Zhuang Qingning spent 2 coins and bought 4 buns, 2 for each of them. About grain prices, they vary from dynasty to dynasty and even year to year. For example, during the reign of Li Shimin in the Tang dynasty, due to different years, the price of rice varied from 2 to 15 copper coins per dough, 2 liters, which is 12.5 jin. The grain prices were extremely low at that time, but during the war-raging period of the Song dynasty, the price of 1 shi, 59.2 jin, was 1,000 copper coins, and the food prices were much higher. The author has set the story during a prosperous and peaceful era for easy calculation and also set the exchange rate at about 1 coin equals 3 modern RMB to determine commodity prices. Therefore, please don't argue about whether the prices are reasonable, as they vary significantly from dynasty to dynasty. Also, please don't question how a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old can carry around 40 jin of tofu. When one was young in the countryside, one often did farm work. Starting from the age of 10, I could carry a half sack of wheat, about 50 jin, from home to dry outside. Carrying 20 or 30 jin of wheat from the field to home was a common occurrence. Children who frequently do farm work are usually very strong, so please do not judge them by the physical strength of children today. Many people often misunderstand these 2 points, so the author is clarifying them here for your understanding. Chapter 22, 022, Familiarity Comes with Second Encounter, Additional Update. Chapter 22, Chapter 022, Familiarity Comes with Second Encounter, Additional Update. The buns had thin skin and generous fillers, and the meat soup inside was plentiful. The taste was delightful as the broth flowed freely with each bite. The 2 sisters found a spot to devour all the buns and then drank the free tea provided at the bun stand, wiping their mouths in satisfaction. For this batch, they had made about 40 pounds of tofu. After accounting for what they had eaten themselves, what they had given to Antwon as well as other expenses such as transportation and free samples. Finally, they ended up with 35 coins, and after deducting the 2 coins spent on the buns, they had 33 coins left. Zhuang Qingning thought about it and decided to take Zhuang Qingsui shopping with the labor points she earned from working, which couldn't be used for daily necessities just yet. They bought 6 pounds of flour and 3 pounds of rice from the grain merchant, purchased more than 10 eggs from the street vendor who was quick to throw in some green onions as a bonus for their brisk business. They also bought some green salt for brushing their teeth and a small box of lard cream. In the spring, the wind could be strong and, with their hands frequently soaked in beans and touching hot paste, fluctuations between hot and cold could easily cause chapping. Applying some lard cream could help protect their hands. Having completed their purchases, Zhuang Qingning, her back laden with provisions and clutching the remaining copper coins, led Zhuang Qingsui back home leisurely. By the time they returned, it was already past noon. After briefly putting their purchases away, they visited Mrs. Wen's home to soak the beans in preparation for the next day. While they were there, they also delivered the fried chopped rice cake and pea cake to Mrs. Wen. Both treats were soft and popular among the elderlies. On seeing the 2 items, Mrs. Wen raised an eyebrow and asked, "Did you sell all the tofu in town today?" "Yes, I sold everything." Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile. "I wonder what tricks you 2 young girls used to sell your tofu when most people in the town are loyal to Changji tofu." Mrs. Wen commented. "But come to think about it, the taste of the tofu from Changji tofu shop isn't particularly good. People are probably tired of it and just wanted to try something new. Essentially they are just jumping from one pit to another. There's not much difference." Mrs. Wen snorted, and then turned to the fried chopped rice cake and pea cake. "Did you buy these?" "No," Zhuang Qingning answered truthfully. "Today, while selling tofu, one struck up a conversation with a lady who was selling fried chopped rice cake and an old man who was selling pea cake. They both helped me sell a lot of tofu, so I decided to give them each a piece. These snacks were gifts from them. One thought you might like them, Antwon, so I brought them back for you. Consider it as a token of gratitude for allowing us to rent the tofu shop." "Humph, one knew it. If the food wasn't given by others, you wouldn't have brought it back for me." Mrs. Wen harumphed, her face full of dissatisfaction. But she didn't refuse the food either. Zhuang Qingning then found a dish to place the food on, covered it with a basket to prevent any opportunistic cats from stealing it. I've already soaked the beans. We'll come back and grind the tofu later tonight. Could you please leave the door unlocked for us, Aunt One? Zhuang Qingning said. This door has never been locked. You can just push it open anytime. If you can't get in, you might as well climb over the not-so-high wall. What are your legs for anyway? I really don't know why a grown woman like you, who's acting like a 3-year-old child, needs to be taught everything. Clearly annoyed, Mrs. Wen said, All right, just leave once you have done your business and said what you want to say. This is the time when I need to take a nap. Yes, we won't disturb your rest, Aunt Wen, said Zhuang Qingning, and she left with Zhuang Qingsui. Aunt Wen was really harsh and would never be satisfied no matter what we did. One feels sorry for my sister having to maintain a pleasant demeanor around her. It's likely because we needed to make a living by renting Aunt Wen's tofu shop. If we upset her, we wouldn't be able to rent the shop anymore. When relying on others, you must always be conscious of their feelings. It's just like when we lived with our uncle, where we had to be submissive. In the future, I must think of ways to earn money. My sister should not always have to put up with Aunt Wen. Zhuang Qingsui pondered these thoughts as she walked home. After a short tidy-up at home, they both went to bed for some rest before finally getting up in the evening to prepare dinner. The aroma of the rich and thick rice porridge, steaming hot flour pancakes, golden scrambled eggs, and the delicious blend of fresh green onions and tofu made for a sumptuous dinner. After dinner, Zhuang Qingning urged Zhuang Qingsui to get some more sleep. However, after sleeping the entire afternoon, and being used to short sleeps due to the many farm tasks at Zhuang Rumen's home, Zhuang Qingsui found it impossible to sleep again. Zhuang Qingning also didn't feel sleepy after a long nap, so she casually joined Zhuang Qingsui in the courtyard, watching the sunset fade bit by bit and counting the gradually appearing stars. When they started to feel tired, they dozed off for a bit until midnight when they walked over to Mrs. Wen's house. As Mrs. Wen hadn't locked the door, they just lightly knocked and pushed it open. After closing the door, they crossed the courtyard, entered the tofu shop, and began to work as they did the night before. Grinding the beans, diluting the mixture, boiling it, curdling the tofu, and pressing it into shape. With the previous night's experience, they got the hang of it very quickly, like old pros. By daybreak, Zhuang Qingning had already made about 40 pounds of tofu, very similar to the amount made the previous day. Your work today is much more efficient than yesterday's, said Mrs. Wen, who had just finished sweeping the courtyard. She stood her broom next to the kitchen stove and rolled up her sleeves. Practice makes perfect. We will probably become even more proficient with time. Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile. We have left some tofu pudding and hot tofu for you in the kitchen. Please have it while it's still hot. At least you remember that. Mrs. Wen snorted, not saying much as she turned and headed into the kitchen. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui then packed up the tofu, ready to head to town. The main road was to the east of Mrs. Wen's house. Though this wasn't a market day, there were still many people who went to town to sell or deliver goods. The road was still crowded with people and bullock carts for hire. For 2 coins, they hired a bullock cart and rode to town. After getting off the cart, Zhuang Qingning led Zhuang Qingsui to find a spot to sell their tofu like they did yesterday. Chapter 23, 023, Excuse me, could you point the way? Chapter 23, Chapter 023, Excuse me, could you point the way? Miss Ning, Miss Sui. From afar, Mrs. Lu waved her hand. Come over quickly, I've saved a spot for you. Upon seeing this, Zhuang Qingning hastily led Zhuang Qingsui over, and put down the bamboo basket she was carrying. Thank you, ma'am. What's there to be polite about? Mrs. Lu chuckled, pulling a small bench from beside her. There's too much to fit in my basket, so one brought an extra bench. You two can take turns sitting. It would be too tiring to stand the whole time. Thank you, ma'am. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui expressed their gratitude once again. Did Uncle Gu not show up today? Zhuang Qingning asked, looking at the empty spot beside her. He hasn't shown up yet, but don't worry about him. He's always messing around, one moment he's fishing and the next he's mending his nets. Who knows what's detaining him today? Mrs. Lu commented dismissively, his family doesn't really need the little money he makes here. He's always loitering around, and his wife can't stand it, All she does is nag him to go out and work. While she was in the middle of talking, someone came over to buy her fried chopped rice cakes, so Mrs. Lu got busy catering to her customer and dropped the subject. Zhuang Qingning wasn't particularly interested in gossiping about others, so she quickly set up her tofu stall with Zhuang Qingsui. Tofu, selling tofu. A coin for £1, 2 coins for 2.5 pounds. Free samples, taste before you buy. Don't miss out as you walk by, come and try our delicious tofu. They continued using the successful strategy of offering free samples for people to try before they buy, in order to attract a crowd. Today, the town wasn't hosting a market, so there weren't as many people around as the day before. However, letting people taste before they buy still attracted some customers, ensuring that they wouldn't regret buying the tofu. Those who decided to buy after tasting the tofu usually accounted for about 60 to 70% of all customers. Zhuang Qingning observed the people coming and going, and noticed 1 or 2 familiar faces from yesterday. Soon, half of their tofu was sold. As the sun slowly rose, the dry spring weather made their throats sore from shouting so much. Zhuang Qingning bought a few bowls of tea for Qingsui to quench her thirst, and also gave some to Mrs. Lu. Seeing that the time was right and that Zhuang Qingsui was getting pretty adept at selling tofu, Zhuang Qingning turned to Mrs. Lu and said, "Ma'am, could you watch over Qingsui and the stall for me? One need to run an errand." "Sure, go ahead." Mrs. Lu immediately agreed. "Miss Sui will be fine with me, don't worry." "Thank you, ma'am." Zhuang Qingning offered a grin, instructed Zhuang Qingsui to watch the stall, and she herself cut a piece of tofu weighing about £1, wrapped it in cloche, and set off in the opposite direction. Across the way was a restaurant, the largest and oldest one in town, called Fushan Tower. It wasn't mealtime yet, so there weren't many customers at Fushan Tower. The staff were cleaning the entrance and wiping the doors and windows. Seeing Zhuang Qingning heading their way, a waiter named Li Fang hurriedly draped a cloth over his shoulder and approached. "Can I interest you in a meal, sir?" "What would you like?" "No, I'm not here for a meal." Zhuang Qingning shook her head. "Then, miss," Li Fang straightened up, scrutinizing Zhuang Qingning from top to bottom. Her attire seemed ordinary, half-worn coarse cloth, suggesting that she was from an average family, perhaps even struggling a little. However, there was an air of grace and composure about her that didn't resemble a sheltered girl from an ordinary family. About 20 or 30 miles west of the town, there was a picturesque Tsuiwei Lake next to Tsuiwei Mountain. A number of wealthy merchants and influential nobles had built villas there to enjoy the beauty of spring and the moon in summer. It wasn't uncommon for these families to send maids to purchase goods or run errands. Li Fang, adhering to the principle of always treating guests with a warm smile and not offending anyone, put a wide grin on his face and asked, "Do you have any business here, miss?" "My family just opened a tofu shop, and we usually set up a stall over there to sell tofu. Our tofu is very good and one thought maybe your restaurant would be interested in buying from us. We can deliver every morning and we can certainly discuss the price." Zhuang Qingning said pleasantly, as she handed him the tofu she brought, "This is our tofu. You can take it back and try it. I'm sure you'll find it satisfying." "So she's selling tofu?" Li Fang stood up straight, his smile fading slightly. "I'm sorry, I'm not in charge of purchasing supplies for the kitchen." "Could you tell me who is?" Zhuang Qingning handed Li Fang 2 copper coins. Li Fang's daily wage was only 5 to 6 copper coins. Seeing a chance to make a little extra, he quickly pocketed the money, instantly regaining his cheerful demeanor. Sure. Actually, purchasing kitchen supplies doesn't fall under my jurisdiction. The chef decides how much food to buy each day. We usually use tofu from Changji Tofu Shop. The guests are used to it. As for your tofu, it might not be acceptable to the chef. But having accepted someone else's money, Li Fang knew he should make an effort. He was a flexible man, so he quickly said, "But since you've said that your tofu is good, and you've let us sample it, one can take it to the kitchen for others to try. If your tofu is really good and the chef likes it, we might buy from you." "Thank you, lad." Seeing him agree, Zhuang Qingning's eyes curved into crescent shapes as she smiled. She gestured at Li Fang saying, "One usually sell tofu there in the morning. If there's any news, please let me know." Of course. Li Fang still wore a beaming smile, as he found a plate to put the tofu on, and returned the cloche to Zhuang Qingning. "Well, I won't keep you from your work. See you later. Zhuang Qingning bid him farewell and left. Li Fang pocketed the 2 copper coins and went to the kitchen with the tofu. Hey, are you sure you want to send this to the kitchen? Another worker named Ma Tong grabbed his sleeve. Chef Zhang is Chef Chang from Changji Tofu Shop's brother-in-law. You dare suggest that he stop using tofu from Changji and start using this girl's tofu? Do you think one have that kind of courage? Li Fang hunched his shoulders. Then what are you? If you take someone's money, you have to do the work. Looking around. To make sure no one was watching, Li Fang lowered his voice and said, I'm just going to leave this piece of tofu in the kitchen. It's so small, who's going to notice where it's from? If the kitchen wants to use it, they will. If they want to eat it, they will. If the girl comes asking, I did take the tofu to the kitchen. If the kitchen decides not to use her tofu, it just means her tofu is not good. Don't you think that makes sense? Chapter 24, 024 Deception. Chapter 24, Chapter 024 Deception. After all, I've done the job for you, you can't find fault with it. You were vague about bringing up the topic or not, right? Ma Tong immediately understood the meaning and laughed, you little rascal, you're cunning. This isn't cunning, this is called getting things done. Li Fang blinked his eyes, took the tofu to the kitchen, saw Chef Zhang and 2 helpers busy there, placed the tofu on top of the tofu previously delivered from Changji Tofu Shop, and then went out to the front. Zhuang Qingning, on the other hand, returned to his own tofu stall. Sister, what did you go to do? Zhuang Qingsui handed over the 2 coins that she had just received from selling tofu, the money we just earned. Zhuang Qingning tucked the money into her money bag and smiled, I just went to Fushan Tower to see if they could buy our tofu in the future. Selling tofu here every day, we can certainly make some money, but it's exposed to wind and sun, and if it rains, we probably can't set up the stall. If we can sell tofu regularly to the restaurant, we can guarantee a minimum daily turnover. It's a guarantee regardless of drought or flood. When we sell more tofu, we can make more money. Zhuang Qingsui added. That's the idea. Zhuang Qingning nodded and smiled. Under normal circumstances, the daily necessities of the restaurant, including this tofu, have a fixed supply. Over time, there is friendship between parties. Whether her tofu can be sold or not is really hard to say. Today, when she delivered this tofu, she also spent 2 copper coins, which is a simple way to test the waters, to see how the follow-up will be. If possible, it's best, if not, she can only rely on her reputation in selling tofu to attract the restaurant to find her. The tofu was soon sold out. Zhuang Qingning and her partner packed up the stall, bought a pound of pork belly from the meat stall, and almost ran out of beans at the tofu stall. Zhuang Qingning bought another 20 pounds of soybeans, and the 2 of them divided the load and carried it back. Lunch was noodles with shredded meat. After a nap in the afternoon, dinner was 2 cornbread with shepherd's purse cool mix, light and refreshing. The next day, Zhuang Qingning and Qingsui went to sell tofu as usual. The tofu tastes good and the price is not high, the business is good, and there are more and more regular customers. Basically, it is sold out before noon. And so it went for 2 days. On this day, Zhuang Qingning still led Zhuang Qingsui to set up the stall. She looked up and saw the waiter from Fushan Tower busy at the door. Zhuang Qingning thought for a while and asked Mrs. Liu to watch Zhuang Qingsui when there were fewer people at her stall, then she walked up. If others don't respond, she will take the initiative to inquire. Excuse me, young man. Zhuang Qingning approached and laughed softly, do you know if there is any response about the tofu? This. After all, he took money from people without doing a good job for them. Li Fang was a bit guilty. With his eyes fluttering left and right, he said, no one has mentioned this matter, I guess it's because your tofu is not good, the chef doesn't like it. Oh. Seeing that the waiter didn't even look at her and spoke in a roundabout way, Zhuang Qingning had a good idea of what was going on. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Then, would you please tell me the truth, can Fushan Tower possibly use our tofu? Soliciting business and giving gifts were voluntary, whether successful or not, whether the other party made a sincere effort, could not be pursued, and there was no way to pursue it. Zhuang Qingning understood this. Now she just wanted a straight answer, could she or not? If she could, she would think of other ways. If not, she would not waste her effort and look for other channels. Li Fang's eyes rolled. Don't hide from you, one think there is a chance. But on that day, one was busy here. When I finished and went to find the chef to talk about this, he was out. I didn't have time to talk about this. The tofu, I was afraid it would spoil in this hot weather, so I asked the other helpers to eat it together. They all said that the taste of the tofu was not bad. I think if the chef had tasted this tofu, he would have liked it too. But Li Fang rubbed his fingers and laughed at Zhuang Qingning. He implied that she should give more money. Did he think she was an easy target because she was young and wanted to keep exploiting her? His calculations were elaborate, but the inconsistency in his speech showed that he thought she was a fool, which was really unpleasant. Zhuang Qingning saw clearly, a cold smirk spread across her lips. You're interesting, young man. One don't blame you for taking my money before and not really doing anything for me, but now you're trying to fabricate lies to defraud me out of more money. Having hit the nail on the head with the truth, the waiter was stunned for a moment. He felt a pressure from Zhuang Qingning, which made him panic. But then he thought that Zhuang Qingning was just a tofu seller, begging people to buy her tofu, and she was a young girl. He quickly regained his composure. What do you mean I haven't done anything for you? How do you know I didn't put the tofu in the kitchen? Why do you accuse me of lying and cheating? Moreover, where is your requesting attitude? It is you who begs us, Fushan Tower, to buy your tofu. Your attitude is so aggressive. What reason is there? I don't know what the reason is, all I know is that someone, who works for such a prestigious place like Fushan Tower, is trying to lie and deceive me, trying to extort money from me, and is trying to take advantage of me. Zhuang Qingning's eyes were cold and her voice was a few degrees higher. I really don't know what consequences there would be if I were to find your manager and tell her about this. Or maybe, one don't need to find your manager. I just need to find your head chef. I won't mention your deception, I'll just say you took 2 coins from me, and wanted to discuss selling tofu. How about that? If this waiter didn't dare to go to the chef to talk about the matter, and also said that they used tofu from Changji Tofu Shop, it must mean that the chef had a relationship with Changji Tofu Shop. If the chef knew that the waiter had intent to displace Changji Tofu Shop, he wouldn't let it go easily. As expected, Li Fang's face turned pale when he heard this. It's just a small matter, why are you making a fuss about it? If you don't want me to make a fuss, you should spit out what you swallowed. Zhuang Qingning snorted coldly. Chapter 25, 025, Never Dare Again. Chapter 25, Chapter 025, Never Dare Again. Li Fang was upset about those 2 coins, but if this matter got out of hand, not to mention 2 coins, he'd lose a day's wages. Given Chef Zhang's temperament, it was quite possible he'd convince the shop manager to kick him out. Hence, he reluctantly took out the 2 coins. Here. Are you happy with those 2 coins now? Li Fang's face flushed red as he returned the money to Zhuang Qingning. Zhuang Qingning accepted the 2 coins, but still held out her hand. You still owe me 1 coin. That's the price for a pound of tofu. Take it. Li Fang forced the word through gritted teeth, throwing the coin into Zhuang Qingning's hand. Having collected back her money without giving up a single coin, Zhuang Qingning didn't wish to engage any further with this dishonest man. She simply turned and walked away. Fearing how much trouble this incident could cause him, Li Fang didn't dare make a fuss, simply gritting his teeth and staring at Zhuang Qingning's retreating figure. Only after she left did he angrily spit on the ground. Damn it! What kind of person is that? A mere girl, pleading for help but still acting so sanctimoniously. I must have been really unlucky to get duped by you. You're the one who started by being dishonest, not delivering what was paid for but instead trying to deceive again. You are wicked and unashamed, not fearing heavenly retribution. One hope you get struck by lightning. Ma Tong, who was standing on the side, merely smirked, choosing not to say anything out loud. Feng Yongkang, who had been watching silently, finally stood up with a stern face. It's high time someone did something about it. S.H. Shop manager. Li Fang recognized Feng Yongkang. His neck shriveled, producing a small tremor in his voice. I used to think you were honest and industrious, attentive and active, a good worker. One never thought you would stoop to such deceit. Feng Yongkang rebuked, you dare cheat a young tofu seller like this. One wonder how many lies you've told and how much money you've swindled in the past. Manager, 1 a.m. wrongly accused. I have never taken an extra coin from the customers before, and I have never done anything bad. This time was just a moment of blindness. Li Fang, who was both frightened and anxious, was close to tears. Manager, I swear this is the first and the last time. I have always been honest. You know me, 1am not the kind of person who takes unfair advantage. Pleading for his sincerity, Li Fang sank to his knees. Li Fang had been working underneath him for a while, and Yong Kong was quite satisfied with him till now. Seeing him regretful, Yong Kong didn't pursue the matter further and just coldly said, "Well, I don't think you'll dare to do something like this again. Get up." "Thank you, manager." Li Fang quickly got up, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Even though one told you to rise, you must be punished for tarnishing the reputation of Fushan Tower. If people saw what happened, they might think we're a bunch of swindlers. There has to be a penalty." Feng Yongkong said, "Considering that it's your first offense and that you seem remorseful, you'll be fined 5 days' wages. This should serve as a lesson to you and also a warning to others about what can and cannot be done." 5 days' wages, 30 coins in total, can buy half a bag of rice. Hearing this, Li Fang was extremely upset. However, upon reflecting, losing 30 coins was far better than being unemployed, and thus he quickly agreed, "Yes, I understand, manager. One promise, it won't happen again." Seeing this, Feng Yongkong didn't say anything more. He turned and walked back to the backyard. Li Fang watched him lift the curtain and disappear from view before he finally relaxed. But soon enough, his stomach filled with resentment. Those 30 coins. From early morning, I've just lost 30 coins for nothing. When it's time to hand over the wages to the family, one will inevitably be reprimanded for my foolishness and irresponsibility, thought Li Fang. Thinking of this gave Li Fang a headache, and whenever he saw the tofu stall in the distance, he saw red. "You little wretch. You've made me suffer so much, just you wait, one will show you how one learns to be humble." Li Fang spat heavily on the ground. After Zhuang Qingsui had finished serving the tofu to the customers, she looked at the returning Zhuang Qingning, who, out of concern, had a grim expression on her face. "Sister, are you okay? Was there a problem with selling tofu in Fushan Tower?" "Yes." Zhuang Qingning nodded, then related the whole incident to Zhuang Qingsui. What a shop attendant with such a black heart. Not only does he take the money and refuse to do the job, but he also plans to cheat people. Mrs. Liu, upon hearing about it, became enormously aggrieved by the incident. Fushan Hour is really insufferable, even allowing its employees to act like this. From now on, we need to tell everyone, no one should eat at Fushan Tower anymore, otherwise they might lose their money. Old lady, you shouldn't lose your temper. Zhuang Qingning hurriedly tried to pacify Mrs. Liu. The blame should lie with that one shop attendant and not the entire tower. If we go around saying this, people will think we're exaggerating. Besides, the incident occurred when no one was around. Fushan Tower has a long-standing reputation and connections within the town. If they want to take sides, they already know what to do. If a dispute were to arise, people might accuse us of deliberately trying to smear the reputation of Fushan Tower. Even though we may have countless words, we might not be able to clear our names. The most important factor was that she didn't want Mrs. Liu to get embroiled in this mess. It would inevitably affect her fried chop rice cake business in town. Zhuang Qingning didn't want to place such troubles on the always supportive Mrs. Liu's shoulders. Furthermore, I've taken my money and tofu back, so there's no loss. Let's just take this mishap as an extra effort to sell a pound of tofu. You're right. After hearing Zhuang Qingning's explanation, Mrs. Liu agreed, maybe you're right about this. Let's just leave things as is. In any case, whether they told anyone or not, their family would certainly not eat at Fushan Tower anymore from now on. Zhuang Qingning laughed, then continued to sell her tofu. The unpleasant event was like a stone falling into a calm lake, creating ripples. But soon the ripples faded, and the surface of the lake became calm again. Everyone busily resumed what they were doing, having already forgotten about the previous incident. However, Zhuang Qingsui still had a worried expression and a furrowed brow. What's wrong with you? One seeing her like this, Zhuang Qingning reached out to gently pat her on the head. Chapter 26, 026, The Uncle Who Drives the Car. Chapter 26, Chapter 026, The Uncle Who Drives the Car. It's not really a big deal, I just feel like a good thing got messed up by others. Zhuang Qingsui dropped her head, twisting her sleeves in her hands. One was wondering what was the matter, turns out it's this. Zhuang Qingning started laughing. As for selling tofu to the restaurant, it's still a try. If it works out, great. If not, we have no problem selling our tofu on normal days, right? There's no such thing as a sure success or failure. Everything has a process, and we have to go through it, try and try again. People always say, if the East doesn't shine, the West might. There will always be difficulties, but there will also be good times. We have just started selling tofu. Did you already want everything to be smooth sailing? We have a long way ahead of us, so take things step by step. While speaking, Zhuang Qingning patted Zhuang Qingsui's head again. Your little brain isn't big, but it's full of thoughts. In the future, you won't have to worry about these matters. As long as I am here, just follow me and enjoy your life. Hearing Zhuang Qingning's words, Zhuang Qingsui understood the meaning and only nodded her head, embarrassedly smiling. I get it. Okay, let's get back to selling our tofu. We had spent too much time discussing the incident with the Fushan Tower waiter, and we didn't actively attract customers. If we don't call out for tasting, no one will come this way. Seeing this, Zhuang Qingsui hurriedly began to call out. Tofu, 1 coin per pound, try it before you buy. On the street, the sisters' clear and somewhat immature voices echoed once again. They'd had a spat midway today, which had delayed them. It was slightly after their usual time when they finished selling the tofu. Still, all the tofu was sold out. It's probably too late to go back and make lunch now. Let's go to the market and see what we can get to eat, said Zhuang Qingning as she began to pack up her bamboo basket and cloche. Okay, Zhuang Qingsui nodded. Otherwise, let's get buns. The first day they came to town to sell tofu, Zhuang Qingning took her to eat meat buns. The buns had thin skin and lots of filling, and the juice was very flavorful. Now that her stomach was empty, she craved them. Okay, let's have meat buns then. Zhuang Qingning's eyes crinkled with laughter. Excuse me, make way. A bullock cart was rushing down the street. The driver snapped his whip to urge the ox faster and called out warnings to people to avoid them, attracting a slew of looks from passers-by and people at the roadside stalls, who all grumbled in between glances. What's so urgent that they're driving like this? Who knows? Look at this dust, it's so high, covering my vegetables. If you drive the cart this fast with so many people coming and going, what if you hit someone? I know, right? People around were chattering. Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui, who were packing up their basket and cloche, also sped up their movements fearing their things could get dirty. But before they had finished packing up, the bullock cart came racing by. The driver pulled the rope in his hand, and with a whoosh, the cart stopped right in front of them. Tofu, do you have any left? The man who disembarked from the cart was panting, his words coming out in bursts. I'm sorry, we've sold out of tofu for the day. If you want to buy some, please come early tomorrow. Zhuang Qingning trailed off, then suddenly realized, are you the uncle who drove us to the town in the bullock cart a few days ago? Seeing that Zhuang Qingning remembered him, Bai San grinned. You have a good memory. It's me. After gratefully wiping the sweat from his forehead due to the hurried ride, he said, you gave me a piece of tofu as a fare the other day. I used it to make soup for lunch, and everyone said it was delicious. I didn't pay attention at first, but the next day the cook bought another piece of tofu for making soup, and everyone said it wasn't as good as yours. They insisted on having your tofu again. So I've been bothered for the last 2 days. Yesterday, I couldn't take it any longer, so I went out to look for you. One came too late, and people said you'd already packed up. So I decided to come early today. This morning one was busy and forgot about it. When it was time to start cooking lunch, they reminded me, and I immediately rushed over, but it was too late. Bai San scratched his head in annoyance, then added, what time will you be here tomorrow? I'll come early. We'll be here just after breakfast. How much do you want? I'll set it aside for you, Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile. About 7 or 8 pounds, said Bai San. There are a lot of people for lunch, and we need 3 or 4 pounds. The rest can be fried or sliced into silk for a cold salad. It's getting hot now, and everyone likes to eat some cold dishes. It's refreshing and goes well with rice. That makes sense. I'll set it aside for you. Come early to pick it up. If you don't come by lunchtime, I won't save it for you, Zhuang Qingning joked, giggling. Okay. Bai San agreed straightforwardly. Since they are willing to reserve it for you, appreciate their kindness, and certainly don't want to interfere with their business. If I can't make it, I'll send someone else. My last name is Bai, and I go by Bai San. When that person comes, they will mention my name. Please remember to sell it to them, Bai San reminded them. Okay, I remembered. Don't worry, Uncle Bai. As she spoke, Zhuang Qingning's eyes flickered. In the future, if you have more people for meals and need more tofu, just let me know in advance. I'll grind a bit more. This way, it won't hold up either side. She wanted to gingerly ask what he was doing, and see if she could sell more tofu in the future. But she was afraid that asking too much would be interpreted as prying into his private affairs, so she phrased her words more tactfully. If he brought it up willingly, that's good. If he didn't, she wouldn't ask. The face was saved. That's great, Bai San laughed. When we have more people and need to buy more, I'll let you know in advance. So you can prepare more. All right. Seeing that he didn't say anything more, Zhuang Qingning stopped thinking about it and just agreed with a pleasant smile. He couldn't buy any tofu today. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Zhuang Qingning, Bai San put down half of the payment as a deposit, 3 coins, then drove his cart back. Zhuang Qingning packed up her basket and cloche, then took Zhuang Qingsui off to eat buns. Chapter 27, 027 Calming Down. Chapter 27, Chapter 027 Calming Down. The buns were rich and fragrant, leaving an oily delight on their lips. No tea was served at the stand. Instead, they made use of a thin rice soup made from millet. Each person was given a bowl for free. It was refreshing and prevented the discomfort of drinking tea after a full meal which could upset the stomach. Full and content, the 2 sisters purchased some beans and other vegetables as was customary, and headed home. Once home, they soaked the beans and rested, waiting to make tofu in the evening. Mealtime at the Fushun Tower was always bustling. While business wasn't as busy as during the large gatherings, the restaurant, an old eatery in town, boasted an array of delicious dishes at fair prices and generous portions. Almost all the tables on the first floor were full at this time. Feng Yongkang was pacing around in the main hall. When seeing regular customers, he would offer a drink and a small dish of peanuts, an effort to strengthen their bonds and attract more business in the future. Manager Qin, you've been less diligent these days than before. Feng Yongkang spotted Qin Hongbao, who ordered 2 dishes and was drinking alone in a corner. He approached with a smile, filled a cup for Qin Hongbao from his liquor bottle, and also for himself, and gave a toast. Well, isn't it because I've been busy in the shop these days? My wife at home is also giving me a hard time, always accusing me of loving liquor. Qin Hongbao laughed and made small talk with Feng Yongkang, but couldn't help but gripe. Look, is it easy to run a noodle shop? I work to death every day, and as a man, one have no other hobbies besides drinking a few cups when I'm free. I don't drink much, and I'm not the kind of drunkard who gets knocked out every day. Does she have to nag me every day? So, after a good scolding, I have been able to stay quiet for 2 days. I can also take advantage of the slow business at noon and come out for a drink. Since you're here, I want to ask, has Fushun Tower changed its chef? How come I haven't heard anything? No. Feng Yongkang was quite surprised. Why are you asking this all of a sudden? Huh. That's rather weird. How come the taste of the dishes I ordered for lunch a few days ago is different from today's? Qin Hongbao inquired. That lunch, I ordered the same. Braised tofu, and it was delicious. I even praised Chef Zhang's improved skills, saying that the braised tofu was much better than usual. I craved for it for 2 days. So today, I came back and ordered the braised tofu again, but it wasn't as good as that day. Could it be that Chef Zhang has been slacking off and didn't want to cook himself, so he casually got an apprentice to cook this dish? How can this be possible? Feng Yong'an chuckled and clarified, among Fushun Tower's signature dishes, braised tofu is one of them. All the dishes in the restaurant are personally cooked by Chef Zhang. We wouldn't dare to let apprentices handle it, let alone the signature dish. But now that you mention it, Manager Qin, I'm curious. Does this dish really taste different? Feng Yong'an fetched a new pair of chopsticks and, after obtaining Qin Hongbao's consent, picked and tasted a piece of tofu. It's the usual craftsmanship of Chef Zhang, without a doubt. There's no difference. Feng Yong'an asserted confidently. Oh. That's rather strange. Qin Hongbao's brow furrowed. How was it so delicious that day? That tofu was so aromatic. Today, it doesn't have that flavor. Could it be that because one was able to go out for a drink for the first time in a while a few days ago, I was in a good mood and everything tasted great? Probably so. They say when people are happy, they feel alert and healthy. It may be because you, Manager Qin, were so happy that day, so the tofu tasted extraordinarily delicious. Feng Yong'an said with a laugh. Perhaps that's the case. Qin Hongbao still looked puzzled. He wrinkled his forehead and the words he wanted to say were swallowed back down. Seeing this, Feng Yong'an laughed it off and wandered away. Call your manager over. A bellow followed by a bang sound of a patron slamming the table. Feng Yong'an looked up and saw a burly man angrily slamming his table with Li Fang next to him, nervously apologizing. Sir, please calm down, calm down. Seeing this, Feng Yong'an hurriedly walked over. Calm down, we are all here for a meal. Harmony is precious, harmony is precious. I'm the manager here. If there are any oversights in our service, you can talk to me. Good timing. The burly man, with his bushy bearded face that was intimidating to begin with, looked even more terrifying in anger. Let me ask you, how does Fushan Tower do business? How do you manage as a shopkeeper? Do you simply allow this waiter to cheat and deceive? Li Fang, who had just been reprimanded by Feng Yong'an when accused of cheating, went pale in the face. He hurriedly protested, Manager, I've been wronged. You are beyond redemption. Let's see how I deal with you. Feng Yong'an ignored Li Fang's explanation and gave him a fierce glare, then turned to the burly man with an apologetic smile saying, Fushan Tower has always done honest business. If there is any misunderstanding, please calm down and discuss it. If our waiter is genuinely in the wrong, I will surely punish him severely. Don't slap a smiling face. With Feng Yong'an's rhetoric, the burly man's face softened a bit. He spoke up in a strong voice, I am a medicine trader passing through here. Noticing the clean water and green mountains here, one decided to stay a few more days. I heard Fushan Tower is a highly reputed restaurant in town, so one came for lunch. The day before yesterday, one had your braised tofu and found it incredibly tasty. As a traveler of many places, I have never tasted a dish as delicious as this. One told people about it when I returned to the inn, but they didn't believe me, so today I brought them to taste the braised tofu. However, after tasting it this time, they all said it was mediocre, certainly not better than the ones made in restaurants and eateries in the county or city. I tasted it, and surely it is far inferior to what one had 2 days ago. It's not the same dish at all. One asked the waiter if the chef had been replaced, but he said no. Isn't this blatant lying? The first time it was so delicious, this time it's not as good, yet you say the chef hasn't changed. Did I change my mouth and taste buds? The taste is different with each bite. The burly man shouted, since you're the manager, you need to give me a proper explanation. Otherwise, I'll flip your table right here in public. The words were spoken with such vigor that his beard twitched in sync with his rage. Feng Yong'an, observing this, could see the height of the man's anger. Feng Yong'an's brows furrowed even deeper. Qin Hongbao had just mentioned that the taste of the braised tofu was different, but he thought that it was due to a change in mood which affected the taste. But now, here was someone else claiming the taste was different. What was going on? Chapter 28, 028 Overturning the Table. Chapter 28, Chapter 028 Overturning the Table. What on earth is going on here? How to resolve the situation right in front of me? Claim that the other party was in a different mood. Judging by their current attitude, they certainly wouldn't agree. Say that the first time the food tastes good and the second time, it is slightly worse. Isn't that saying that the dishes at Fushan Tower don't hold up to repeated eating, thus damaging Fushan Tower's reputation? Should one say that Chef Zhang was unwell today, and thus, the stewed tofu he made didn't taste as good as before? However, the taste is clearly the same, and what will we explain it if it tastes the same in the future? Besides, with Chef Zhang's temper, if you question his culinary skills, he would dare to fight you with a large iron spoon. Maybe we could blame it on the kitchen helper's clandestine cooking, which might be plausible. However, it would contradict the notion that all of Fushan Tower's signature dishes are produced personally by Chef Zhang. Moreover, if the other party directly requests the chef to prepare another dish, it would be impossible to maintain the image. After weighing different scenarios, the only option left for Feng Yongkang was to apologize with a smile on his face, and say, "I am sorry. I was just discussing the same issue. All the stewed tofu here in Fushan Tower is made by Chef Zhang, and we use the famous local Changji tofu. Logically, there should not be any difference in taste. However, the customers at the other table are also questioning why the taste varies. I haven't been able to figure out why and I'm very perplexed. Let's do it this way. Since we are destined to meet here in Fushan Tower, let's become friends. I'll treat you to this meal and add our restaurant's signature dishes on your table, braised carp and stir-fried lamb. Let your business thrive, with prosperity every year and everything to your satisfaction. How about that? So you've talked a lot, but haven't made any clear points. What do you mean you don't understand the reasons? And what does it mean that you are also puzzled? Are you treating me to a meal and adding dishes? Can't I afford this meal or this dish? The men did not fall for Feng Yongkang's act and kept pressing on the tofu dish issue. That's not what I meant at all. One was just saying, Feng Yongkang quickly tried to explain. No more of your nose and buts. All you are doing is confusing me and making me lose face. I said earlier, if you cannot give me a plausible explanation, one will overturn this table. Now that you're unable to explain, I won't waste any more time talking. While speaking, the man reached out, heaved a strong effort and flipped the table upside down. All sorts of dishes along with plates, bowls, and chopsticks that were originally on the table were suddenly scattered all over the floor. The scene was a complete mess. The movement shocked everyone in the room. They all looked on in astonishment, and some even stood up to see the commotion. You're claiming that you're not fooling us, but as I see it, this is a pure ripoff. The man snorted coldly and signaled his companions, "Let's go." With that, he strode off. The rest of his party followed suit with a range of expressions on their faces. Feng Yongkang let these four men leave Fushan Tower without stopping them. Nothing to worry about, my apologies for the disturbance. Feng Yongkang apologized and reassured the remaining patrons, everyone present today will get a 10% discount when settling the bill, consider it my apology for the confusion. I hope you will all be understanding. Incidentally, everyone was delighted with the unexpected discount, since the incident had not affected them. They all uttered pleasantries before happily sitting back down to enjoy their meal. Seeing this, Feng Yongkang breathed a sigh of relief. At least it did not affect the others. Hurry up and clean up this mess, someone might see it. This is totally unacceptable. Feng Yongkang ordered. Only then did Li Fang regain his composure. He hurriedly fetched a basin, a broom and other items to clear the plates, food, and other items on the floor. Feng Yongkang frowned and dared not leave. He stood at the counter, staring at the scene, fearing that another similar incident might occur. Thankfully, the diners in the hall gradually finished their meals and paid their bills one by one, without causing any more issues. Feng Yongkang quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Manager Qin, take care. Feng Yongkang was in a better mood as he sent off the last table's customer, Qin Hongbao. Manager Feng. Qin Hongbao hiccuped with a flushed face. He had only drank 3 or 4 taels of alcohol, not enough to get drunk, but the hiccups were full of alcohol, and smelled quite unpleasant. The stewed tofu tasted entirely different the 2 times I had it. The stewed tofu one had the other day was truly delicious. No exaggeration, if the stewed tofu you serve here could always taste as good as it did that day, I dare say, Fushan Tower's business would improve greatly. Yes, Manager Qin has a point, Feng Yongkang smiled, I should definitely look into this matter to figure out what's going on. If one could find the reason, it would be excellent. He didn't try the stewed tofu that day so he could not tell how delicious it was. But as regular patrons claimed it was delectable, it should certainly not have been bad. If he could really find the reason, and prepare such delicious stewed tofu every day, then he could surely rest easy. After sending off Qin Hongbao, without a second thought, Feng Yongkang went to Chef Zhang. Inside the main hall, Li Fang and Ma Tong were cleaning up tables, wiping their surfaces, and sweeping the floor. Watching Feng Yongkang walk towards the backyard, Ma Tong nudged Li Fang's elbow. "Hey, don't you think there's something suspicious about this matter?" "It does sound suspicious." Li Fang nodded, but then he impatiently said, "But no matter how suspicious, it has nothing to do with us. We just work for daily wages. This is something for the manager to worry about. Why should we bother? This matter has nothing to do with me, whether it has anything to do with you or not, one have no clue." Ma Tong sneered. Li Fang paused from wiping the table and looked up in surprise. "What do you mean by that?" "What do one mean?" Ma Tong leaned closer to Li Fang. "Didn't you think about it? The day that both Manager Qin and that so-called businessman praised the stewed tofu was which day?" "Which day?" Li Fang thought about it, and his heart sank. "Oh, right. Wasn't it that day? The day the tofu seller girl asked him to take 2 coins to give her tofu to the kitchen for tasting. He accepted the task, brought the tofu to the kitchen, and placed it unnoticeably. He didn't mention it to anyone, and simply put the tofu on top of the usual Changji tofu, pretending it was also from Changji tofu shop. Apparently, that tofu was treated like any other tofu, chopped up, cooked into a dish of stewed tofu, and by chance, was served to Manager Qin and the businessman." Chapter 29, 029, Do a Favor, Extra Update. Chapter 29, Chapter 029, Do a Favor, Extra Update. Therefore, today's event happened. So, if we trace down the root of the event, was it because of him? Li Fang was suddenly at a loss. Earlier today, he had already provoked Feng Yongkang into scolding him. If Feng Yongkang found out about this matter and the big commotion it had caused, he would probably lose a month's wages. That wasn't the end though. If Chef Zhang found out about this, even if Li Fang hadn't intended to sabotage Changji tofu stall, judging by Chef Zhang's temper, he would not listen to any explanation, and would wield his kitchen knife demanding a resolution. Thinking of all of this, Li Fang broke into a cold sweat with beads of perspiration popping out of him, and his back was unwittingly soaked in sweat. Ma Tong looked at Li Fang trembling in fear with great interest, his eyes were slightly narrowed. "This is what they call retribution is not absent, it's just a matter of time. One must never be malicious or do bad things, as retribution will surely come sooner or later." Ma Tong ignored Li Fang and continued to do his own work. Li Fang, feeling as if his soul had left his body, picked up a handkerchief and continued wiping the tables. Because of the routine established in the past few days, Zhuang Qingning was able to wake up on her own in the evening. As usual, she made dinner and then called Zhuang Qingsui to get up. At midnight, they went to Antwen to grind tofu. The next morning, Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui were about to leave after leaving the tofu pudding and tofu that Mrs. Wen needed. "Wait." Mrs. Wen called to stop them from behind. "Aunt Wen, is there something you need?" Zhuang Qingning first put down the bamboo basket on her back. "On your way back at noon, get me a pound of meat, half fat and half lean, chopped for dumplings. Only meat from the plum blossom part of the pork shoulder will do, none of the other parts," Mrs. Wen ordered. She tugged at the money bag in her hand, took out 7 coins, and handed them to Zhuang Qingning, with the remainder, "Get 2 tails of wine. Go to the Huo winery in town. Just tell them you need wine for me. They will know what kind of wine to give you. The wine jar is on the kitchen windowsill. Help yourself." "Okay." Zhuang Qingning agreed readily, taking the money and the wine jar from the windowsill. Leading Zhuang Qingsui, they set off for town just like before. As it was market day, the town was bustling once again. After selling tofu in town for several days, Zhuang Qingning's small stall had garnered some regulars. With positive word of mouth, business was much better than the last time when they were in the market. When the sun rose to mid-sky, most of the tofu was sold. Looking at the remaining large piece of tofu, Zhuang Qingning weighed it. It was only about 10 or so caddies left. She thought for a moment and covered the tofu with a cloche, no longer asking Zhuang Qingsui to call out for customers. She bought half a caddy of fried dough twist with a coin from a nearby vendor, and while eating it with tea from the gourd at home, she and her sister chatted and helped Mrs. Liu sell the fried chop rice cakes. Today, Guhatong also came to sell pea cakes. However, the amount of pea cakes that he brought this time was less than last time. He looked a bit spiritless. After arriving, he didn't set up a stall with them but moved his own stall to the side, a few stalls away from them. Even more surprising, he didn't say a word to them. "What's wrong with Uncle Go?" Zhuang Qingning asked Mrs. Lu in a low voice, quite puzzled. "I don't know." Mrs. Lu also glanced in that direction and then shrugged. Mr. Gu has been selling pea cakes in town for 2 to 3 years. When he usually sets up a stall, he always sets up in the busiest areas. Where we are, although it is not the best location, it certainly is bustling. But where he is a lot quieter. One have no idea what he's thinking. However, since he doesn't come over or say a single word, there must be something up. But since he doesn't speak about it, he probably doesn't want to talk about it, so we better not ask. True. Zhuang Qingning nodded in agreement. If he's not speaking out, it's probably a difficult topic to discuss. If we probe, it may cause more embarrassment. It would be better to wait until he is willing to talk about it. Zhuang Qingning decided to not think about it for now and continued to help Mrs. Lu sell the fried chopped rice cakes. From time to time, she would eat a bite of the crispy mahua and even pass a couple to Mrs. Lu for her to snack on. "Do you still have tofu?" A tall and thin middle-aged man walked straight up to Zhuang Qingning and asked. Zhuang Qingning thought for a moment and asked, "How much do you want?" 10 caddies. The man said. "I'm sorry, but one don't have that much left, at most, I only have 2 caddies." Zhuang Qingning explained. "Huh." The man looked at the tall cloche covering the tofu in surprise and said, "There must be at least 10 caddies of tofu here, how can you say there isn't?" To be honest, someone reserved 8 caddies of tofu yesterday, and they haven't come to pick it up yet. Deducting the 8 caddies reserved for someone else, there are only 2 caddies left. Zhuang Qingning explained. "I see." The man stood in front of the tofu stall, pondering for a moment, and then said, "Like this, isn't your tofu 1 coin per caddy, and 2.5 caddies for 2 coins? If I want 10 caddies of tofu, I'll give you 10 coins, more than what others are paying, okay?" "Sorry, that can't be done." Zhuang Qingning retained her smile, then continued, "One have already promised someone else and even collected the deposit. If one break my promise, it would be treacherous. This is unthinkable. Thank you for your patronage. If you sell tofu tomorrow, one will give you a bit more. 11 coins. 12 coins. Seeing that Zhuang Qingning still had no intention of agreeing, the man became somewhat anxious and said, "I will be transparent with you. My mother has been in poor health recently. Tomorrow is her birthday, and I want to invite relatives and neighbors to our house to liven up the atmosphere. It is also meant to bring joy to my mother and relieve her condition. At her hometown, it's customary to eat tofu ball soup on her birthday. So, I'm thinking of buying some tofu and making it into balls for the soup to serve the relatives and neighbors. A few days ago, my wife bought tofu from your stall when she was shopping. After eating it, my mother said it tasted very good and told me that when I make tofu ball soup tomorrow, one must use tofu from your place. So, I hurried to buy some. Because tofu balls take time to make, you need to get up early in the morning and crumble the tofu, marinate them, and then fry them. It is also time-consuming. Plus, I have to welcome people around noon. If I come to buy tofu from you when you set up your stall tomorrow, I am afraid one will be in a hurry, and they won't turn out good. Could you please accommodate this request at your convenience? One would be very grateful." After saying this, the man gave a bow in front of everyone. He was very polite, sincere, and, most importantly, very dutiful. Zhuang Qingning pursed her lips. Chapter 30. 030 New Task. Chapter 30, Chapter 030 New Task. Ding, congratulations to the host for triggering a random task. Filial piety is a traditional virtue. If the host helps this person successfully complete the birthday banquet, you can get 18 diligence points and a random reward. Since there was still a large amount of diligence to be repaid to the system, and now there was a task that could earn diligence, and the amount was not low, coupled with the delivered random reward. That's why Zhuang Qingning didn't hesitate and said, "Actually, this tofu was really reserved for others, it can't be simply given away. But, since you need it early tomorrow morning, there's another way." "What about early tomorrow morning? I will bring the tofu to the town earlier and deliver it to your home. How about it? The man, upon hearing this, was overjoyed. That would be great. But it seems that you don't know where I live. Delivering it would probably require some extra effort, and waste time. Isn't it better for you to come to town early and wait here for me to sell the tofu? That works too. Zhuang Qingning nodded. Then one will come to town early at 3/4 past the morning. Will that be okay? That would be okay. Thank you for your hard work, miss. The other party was very grateful, and bowed to Zhuang Qingning again. My surname is Zhou, the name is Zhou Xueming. One can let my wife come if I can't come early in the morning. All right, then one will use your name at that time. Zhuang Qingning agreed. This is the down payment, please take it, miss. The other party extended his hand to pass over some money. It was 12 coins. This is too much. 10 caddies of tofu only costs 8 coins. Zhuang Qingning hurriedly said, and if you pre-order tofu from me, you only need to pay half the price, just 4 coins will do. Since I just shouted the price at 12 coins per caddy, then one should give 12 coins, especially since I am troubling you to run this errand early in the morning, this price should be given. Zhou Xueming said, since Miss can reserve tofu for others at this time without charging a high price, you must be an honest and faithful person. I believe that you will not take the money without giving the tofu. Since you said so, then one will shamelessly take it first, and one will definitely be here at 3/4 past the morning tomorrow. Seeing the other party behaving like this, Zhuang Qingning accepted the money and carefully memorized this name in her heart. Thank you, miss. Zhou Xueming bid farewell and left. Zhuang Qingning sat back on the small bench and gave Mrs. Lu another fried dough twist. Ning girl. Mrs. Lu said while eating the dough twist, the more I look at it, you really are a great potential businesswoman. You do business in a sincere and energetic manner. Your business will definitely get better and bigger in the future. Then one will take your good words. Zhuang Qingning laughed with her eyes curved. The shallow dimples on her cheeks made her look playful and cute. This is not just flattery. Mrs. Lu raised her eyebrows and said, I'm telling the truth. One have been selling fried chopped rice cakes here for years, and I have seen many street stall vendors. The honest ones often look dull and can't talk, and their business is not lively. The more lively ones are usually not reliable, their business methods are too cunning. You are the only one who is lively and honest when doing business. With you like this, you will definitely do well in the business. You flatter me like this, and it really makes me shy. Lu said with a smile. No, this is not flattery, I'm telling the truth, the most reliable truth. Mrs. Lu also laughed. Someone came to ask for fried chopped rice cake, and Mrs. Lu got busy to attend to the customer. Waited for a while. To put it more precisely, it was quite a while, and it was nearly noon. The bright sunny day made this spring day feel dry and hot. After staying on the street for a while, some sweat beads appeared on my back. But Bai San still hadn't come to buy tofu. There have been many people buying tofu, but because they wanted too much, Zhuang Qingning politely refused and asked them to come early the next day. Do you think he will not come to buy tofu? Zhuang Qingsui twisted her eyebrows and sighed. He should. Zhuang Qingning looked up at the sky and smiled. In any case, we agreed yesterday. If he doesn't come past noon, we won't keep the tofu. You don't need to worry about wasting the tofu. Zhuang Qingsui found it reasonable, so she nodded obediently and continued to wait patiently. After about a cup of tea's time, Bai San finally arrived. He was panting, his forehead was full of sweat, and he looked like he had been running all the way. I'm sorry. As soon as Bai San spoke, he apologized. One was too busy in the morning, and couldn't get away, and when I looked at it, it was near noon, so one rushed here. Is there any tofu left? Filled with remorse, he added, it doesn't matter if there's no tofu left. If necessary, I'll come back tomorrow. He would definitely come early tomorrow, so as not to delay others and also to buy tofu, avoiding the nagging of those people every day. In the past 2 days, those people had been muttering in his ears all the time, it had driven him crazy. There's still some, it was specially reserved for you. Zhuang Qingning smiled slightly, lifted the cloche to reveal the white and tender tofu inside. The 8 caddies of tofu you want is exactly right. A person came just now wanting 3 caddies of tofu. He couldn't buy that much and had to regretfully only buy 2 caddies to take home. Now this tofu was exactly 8 caddies, not a liang more, not a liang less. Seeing that there was still tofu, Bai San's eyes were full of surprise. He was so excited that he almost clapped his hands. That's great, it's just in time. If it was any later, one really wouldn't be able to buy it. It's not just in time. Mrs. Lu couldn't help but scoffed. This was specially reserved by Ning girl for you. The tofu has been sold out half an hour ago, and because of this, Ning girl has had to apologize to many people who couldn't buy tofu. Bai San was taken aback at first, then he looked even more remorseful, repeatedly saying, I'm really sorry, I was really busy today and couldn't get away, making you wait for so long. Since one promised you, I have to wait for you to come and buy tofu. It's only right. Zhuang Qingning laughed. It's not early now, if you don't go back soon, I'm afraid it will delay lunch. Go back quickly. All right. Bai San really needed to rush back, so he didn't say much. He just took the tofu and hurried back. However, taking only 2 steps, he returned and said to Zhuang Qingning, who was packing up the cloche and bamboo basket, you will continue to sell this tofu in the future, won't you? I will sell it for a long time. Zhuang Qingning grinned. To tell you the truth, my parents passed away early, and I and my sister have to rely on each other. We don't have any land in our house. We have to rely on grinding tofu and selling tofu for our lives. We will definitely sell tofu for a long time in the future. Chapter 31, 031, Do me a favor. Chapter 31, Chapter 031, Do me a favor. All right then. Bai San nodded his head and smiled. 1 foot 11 inches come back to buy more tomorrow. Actually, I'll do all my shopping here from now on. You don't need to reserve anything for me anymore. 1 foot 11 inches come early tomorrow. It would save people from waiting around for so long. All right, Zhuang Qingning also smiled. After Bai San left, Zhuang Qingning packed up the bamboo baskets and the cloche fabric, bid farewell to Mrs. Lu, and led Zhuang Qingsui to go shopping for necessities. Besides buying a fixed amount of soybeans and a few packets of rice flour, she kept a surplus for emergency use and led Zhuang Qingsui to look for fabric. The spring clothes they got from the system were the only ones available. Many farmers used to dismantle winter padded clothes, remove the cotton and sew them into spring clothes, but their winter clothes were too worn out and there was no need to bother with them anymore. The ordinary coarse cloth was usually woven by skillful and industrious girls and daughters-in-law at home. Only families with clumsy mothers-in-law or no housewives bought fabric outside. Therefore, coarse cloth was not in high demand and it was sold at a low price. Counting everything, the sisters bought enough fabric for 2 sets of clothes and 2 pairs of shoes, which only cost a total of 12 coins. They paid the money, took the cloth, put it in the bamboo basket, and then, as per Mrs. Wen's instructions, went to buy a pound of pork belly. Zhuang Qingning decided to buy half a pound of pork belly for herself, planning to make a meat sauce for zhejiang noodles for lunch when she returned. They also went to the winery mentioned by Mrs. Wen to pick up some wine. Then, the sisters started their journey back home. After arriving home, they put away their purchases. Zhuang Qingning asked Zhuang Qingsui to wash the meat and knead the dough at home while Zhuang Qingning delivered the meat and wine to Mrs. Wen. Why are you back so late? By the time Zhuang Qingning arrived, Mrs. Wen had already finished her lunch. She enjoyed a meal of rice, scrambled eggs with spring onions, and mixed spinach. There was a bit of a delay. Zhuang Qingning smiled. Shall I place the pork belly and wine in the kitchen? Just leave it there. I'll clean it up and put it away later. Mrs. Wen didn't even lift her head as she replied. All right, I'll be going then. After storing things in the kitchen, Zhuang Qingning left. Go ahead. Mrs. Wen continued to eat without looking up. Zhuang Qingning paused in her tracks for a moment. In the past, Mrs. Wen would huff in a cold tone when she left, but now she was speaking instead. Her voice even sounded less harsh than before. Maybe she was in a good mood. Must be, why else would she buy wine and meat? Perhaps she had something joyful to celebrate. While Zhuang Qingning was pondering this, she went into the courtyard, where Zhuang Qingsui was already adding water to the dough. The pork belly was cut into small pieces and stir-fried in an iron pot with ginger, garlic, and green onion until it was turned into a meat sauce. The dough was then rolled thin with a large rolling pin, folded, and cut into thin noodles. After adding the noodles to the boiling pot of water to cook, the noodles were drained and rinsed, topped with the delicious meat sauce, and voila, a mouth-watering bowl of black bean noodles was ready. Served with noodle soup, the sisters chatted and laughed while enjoying their lunch. After a short afternoon nap, they woke up in the evening, as usual. They enjoyed scrambled eggs with spring onions, mixed spinach with glass noodles, rice porridge and scallion pancakes for dinner. It wasn't yet dark after dinner. Zhuang Qingsui was going back and forth between the house and the kitchen, constantly searching for something. "What are you looking for?" Zhuang Qingning was surprised to see her sister rummaging. "I'm looking to see if there are any shovels or hoes." Eventually, Zhuang Qingsui found a hoe in one corner. Because it hadn't been used in a long time and had been exposed to the sun and wind, it was rusty. "Well, it can still be used." Zhuang Qingsui looked at the hoe from all angles and tested it before suggesting, "Our courtyard does have a large empty area that is not being utilized, it seems wasted. I am considering tilling the ground and planting some vegetables to use for our daily meals." These past few days, they have had to buy vegetables from the market, costing them extra money. Aware that her sister worked hard to earn money, Zhuang Qingsui felt they should save as much as possible. Despite being young and not the sharpest of minds, she couldn't think of any other ways to earn money, so she pondered ways to save instead. "That's a great idea," Zhuang Qingning agreed, nodding her head. "It's going to be cucumbers and loofah planting season soon. We can cultivate some of them too. By the time summer arrives, we'll have plenty of vegetables. But first try to hoe some land. I'm going to visit Auntie next door and we'll be back soon. Don't overexert yourself if you get tired." "All right, sister, you go." "I understand." Zhuang Qingsui found a piece of rough pottery and tried to sharpen the rusty hoe, hoping to make it more efficient. With a piece of coarse cloth from the cloth shop and a piece of tofu reserved especially in the morning in her hand, covered by a cloche, Zhuang Qingning set off towards Mrs. He's house. Mrs. He was extremely skilled in needlework. Many of the clothes Zhuang Qingning used to wear were made by her. Asking Mrs. He to help with making clothes provided an excuse to pay her some sewing fees as a reward. Moreover, Mrs. He had a soft spot for her and only rejoiced because she made money. She would never gossip about her. When she arrived at Mrs. He's house, the courtyard doors were open. They had just finished their dinner, and Mrs. He was asking the children to help clean up the bowls, chopsticks, and benches and fetch water for washing dishes. "Auntie," Zhuang Qingning called out in her sweet voice and walked in. "Ning girl." Mrs. He was a bit curious to see Zhuang Qingning. Upon noticing something cloth-like in Zhuang Qingning's hand in the dim light, Mrs. He's brows knitted slightly. After instructing her children to fetch water for washing dishes, Mrs. He briskly walked over and took Zhuang Qingning to a corner of the courtyard for a chat. "What brings you here?" "I have a favor to ask, Auntie," smiled Zhuang Qingning. Mrs. He's brow furrowed at this. Delaying her reply, she figured Zhuang Qingning might need to borrow some grain. Indeed, it had been several days, and the cornmeal she sent last time must have run out by now. Although they heard Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui had leased Mrs. Wen's tofu mill and planned to sell tofu in the town in future, but making tofu was not an easy task. Besides, they also heard Mrs. Wen did not teach them the right method to make tofu. Obviously, the two young girls wouldn't be able to make delicious tofu and earn much money. As for the cloth prices, weaving technology greatly developed at the end of the Song dynasty. By the time of the Ming dynasty, a tael of silver could buy 33 pieces of cotton cloth, which is roughly 30 plus coins per piece of cotton cloth. These are the prices I have based my writing on. Chapter 32, 032 Misunderstanding. Chapter 32, Chapter 032 Misunderstanding. Maybe I'll even have to pay money back. Life is getting hard, and without any other option, I can only go to her family to borrow some grains and get through. Zhuang Qingning, stop talking. Your aunt knows your situation, Mrs. He softly said. Never mind, I'll give you 20 kilograms of cornmeal. It's not a lot, but you two sisters can get by with it for now. Things are tense at home too. Xiaoxi is frail, always catching colds and coughing, so we spend quite a bit on medicine annually. One know it's tough for you two sisters. I should give more, but one just can't afford it. Zhuang Qingning was dumbfounded, realizing that she had misunderstood. She hastily explained, Aunt, one came to you not to borrow grain, but for something else. Then. What is it? Said Mrs. He, startled. If not to borrow grain, could it be to borrow money? Yes, it must be because they can't sell tofu, and perhaps owe Mrs. Wen for the beans. They need to reimburse her. Ever since Jingsui and I moved out on our own, we don't have any clothes to change into. Today, there happened to be a market in town, so we bought some cloth. But neither of us knows how to tailor clothes, let alone sew them. I remember your needlework skills are excellent, so we thought of asking you to help us make a few clothes and shoes. Zhuang Qingning explained, but we will not expect you to do this work for free. We will pay you. Mrs. He was thinking about how much money Zhuang Qingning might ask for and how much she could give when she heard Zhuang Qingning mention making clothes and paying her. She was taken aback. What did you say? Mrs. He looked incredulously at Zhuang Qingning and looked again at the clean, new cotton cloth in her hand. Her eyes widened noticeably. Ning, this cloth. Did you earn some money? We go to the town every day to sell tofu, and we earn a bit. Not much, but enough for me and Qingsui to get by, Zhuang Qingning replied with a smile. Mrs. He felt immensely relieved, even slightly happy. Having tofu to sell meant they had a source of livelihood, and they should be able to stop worrying about their future. You always were a smart girl. You've proven your worth. Just keep up the good work, and things will gradually get better. With a broad smile on her face, Mrs. He said, I only have my sewing skills to offer, but one promise: your clothes will be well made. Don't worry about the cost. I certainly would not accept money from you. If you mention money again, it will make things awkward. In the future, Qingsui and I will need more clothes and shoes. We will need your help, Aunt. If we don't pay you and just have you work for free, that won't be fair, Zhuang Qingning insisted. You just started making money from selling tofu, and all the money should go to your daily expenses or be saved for future use. Let's talk about this matter later when you are more financially stable. No matter what, she must not take their money. Well, I can only say thank you, Auntie. We will settle our debts in the future, reluctantly, Zhuang Qingning agreed. Her aunt could bring up the topic again in the future, so she didn't put much pressure on herself about it at the moment. This tofu was made by Qingsui and me. I brought a block for you and your family to try. I have a general idea of your sizes. The clothes will be slightly oversized so you can wear them longer. As for the shoes, one will measure your sizes when one start making the soles. Mrs. He said, fortunately, one don't have much to do these days. If all goes well, it will only take me 2 or 3 days. As for the tofu, Mrs. He didn't hesitate and pushed away Zhuang Qingning's hand. You two should keep them for yourselves. Zhuang Qingning laughed, knowing her aunt was only trying to be considerate. It's just a piece of tofu, Aunt. Please just enjoy it. Besides, the fact that we're making new clothes shows that we're making money, right? Mrs. He was momentarily stunned. Isn't that just the perfect logic? They've bought cloth, which suggests the tofu business must be going well. At least they didn't need to worry about being able to feed themselves. Well then, 1 foot 11 inches, gladly take it and try your craftsmanship. Mrs. He accepted the tofu with a beaming smile. A small smile curled at the corner of Zhuang Qingning's mouth. Aunt, you can find us at lunchtime or after dark. We usually go to the market in the morning. After that, we usually go home to rest. You don't need to make our clothes too long. It's not comfortable to wear and inconvenient to work in. If they end up being too small, we can always make new ones, Zhuang Qingning said. After all, being young meant she was somewhat more ambitious. The tofu business was just starting to pick up, and they were already thinking about eating and dressing nicely with just a small income. They didn't seem to be thinking about the future at all. Mrs. He felt that something was not quite right, but thinking about how Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui had just set up their own household, they had finally emerged from the grip of Zhuang Rumen and Mrs. Song. They could finally lead their own lives, and having been poor for so long, they wanted to dress a little better now. If they insisted on not making the clothes too big, they wouldn't make them too big. The leftover cloth would be saved for them. If the clothes were too small the following year and they didn't have money for new ones, they could simply attach a patch. Many families had to be frugal. When the children's clothes became too small, they would simply patch them up. No one laughed at anyone else for their patched-up clothes. It was just the way things were. All right then, don't worry. One promised to make you some good clothes, Mrs. He readily assured. Thank you, Aunt, said Zhuang Qingning. Qingsui is still at home. We plan to hoe up the courtyard, then go to the market to buy some vegetable seeds and seedlings. One must hurry back to work. Why bother buying vegetable seeds? It's a waste of money, said Mrs. He. One have plenty of pumpkin and wax gourd seeds at home. Once you've prepared the ground, you can come and take some. The pumpkins one planted last year were quite big and sweet. When you're ready to plant, just come and take some. It's common among farming families to have their own vegetable plots, with loofahs, wax gourds, and pumpkins climbing all over the walls of houses. If a plant grew well, they would save its seeds for planting the following year. If someone didn't save seeds or saw that someone else's vegetables were growing well, they could ask for some seeds. It was just an everyday occurrence. Mrs. He felt that she could not help Zhuang Qingning very much, but she could still provide vegetable seeds. All right, when the time comes, one will shamelessly ask you for some, Zhuang Qingning said with a smile. Don't be so modest, I have plenty of these things, Mrs. He laughed. I also have garlic and chives, which you can transplant from the fields. All right then, Zhuang Qingning agreed readily. The two women chatted for a while longer. Zhuang Qingning was eager to get back to her hoeing in their yard. She promptly said goodbye and left. Mrs. He rolled up the piece of cloth and planned to store it in the house. She would start cutting out the patterns early the next day and prepare to sew. Is Ning coming to borrow grain? Zhuang Yonghe, who was weaving straw sandals under the light of the oil lamp in the house, stopped his work when he saw Mrs. He. Chapter 33, 033 A bit different. Chapter 33, Chapter 033 A bit different. Zhuang Yonghe sighed again and said, here's the thing, these two kids really have tough lives. The last time we did not offer them much either, since now they've asked for help, let's give them a bit more, and try not to be too stingy. Upon hearing this, Mrs. He chuckled. What is it? Zhuang Yonghe looked at Mrs. He, who was laughing heartily, his face full of confusion. I'm laughing at us for jumping to conclusions. We thought that the young Miss Ning came to borrow food, but she didn't. She came to ask if one could help hem a few pieces of clothing for them. She even brought us a piece of tofu, wanting us to taste her work. Mrs. He then relayed her encounter to Zhuang Yonghe. She initially intended to pay, but one declined. Let's discuss this later. They just moved out and will need money down the line. That is correct, Zhuang Yonghe agreed while nodding his head. In the sunshine later, tofu may not sell, or even turn bad too quickly. We don't have much to give, so if we can avoid taking their money then we won't. Seeing her husband in agreement with her, Mrs. He didn't say any more. She just tidied up the cloth, calling to the kids who were playing around in the courtyard, telling them to do their chores or to go to bed if it was their bedtime. When Zhuang Qingning came back inside the courtyard, Zhuang Qingsui was hoeing the ground. Bit by bit, she had already cleared a small patch. Let me take over. Have a rest, and go drink some water. Zhuang Qingning took the hoe from her and continued hoeing. The courtyard of this house had been deserted for a year. Weeds had grown all over the place. The ground wasn't as hard as in other courtyards, making it easier to hoe. The previous owner's body was conditioned by years of farming labor, thus she was strong, and adept at this hard work. She hoed the ground without panting or getting flush-faced. While Zhuang Qingning was busy hoeing the ground, Zhuang Qingsui boiled some water for tea to cool down, so that she could drink it when she finished working later. After a while, she insisted Zhuang Qingning take a break, and she took over the hoeing. The sisters took turns in preparing the ground for growing vegetables in the courtyard. The task was accomplished quickly. Once the newly turned soil had dried sufficiently in the sun, they would hoe it once again before starting to plant their vegetables. It was getting late. After taking a break with Zhuang Qingsui, Zhuang Qingning cleaned up and went to Aunt Wen's. Knowing that Mrs. Wen usually went to bed early and was a light sleeper, Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui were careful to enter quietly, making as little noise as possible. They crossed the courtyard and entered the tofu workshop cautiously. In the usually dark, silent tofu workshop, an oil lamp was burning. Mrs. Wen was sitting there, staring blankly at the large pot on the stove, where the soy milk was boiling. Aunt Wen. Zhuang Qingning walked up to her with surprise and called her. It wasn't until this moment that Mrs. Wen came out of her trance. She squinted at Zhuang Qingning and Zhuang Qingsui. You two, why are you here so early today? We promised someone that we'd deliver tofu early in the morning, so we came to grind the tofu early. Zhuang Qingning noticed the gloomy look on Mrs. Wen's face, as if she was preoccupied with something. She asked cautiously, Did we disturb you, Aunt Wen? No bother. Go about your work. One was just looking for something and I couldn't find it, so one drifted into a reverie, Mrs. Wen said, getting up and heading out. You should get some rest early, Aunt Wen, Zhuang Qingning said. Mrs. Wen didn't respond. She just turned around and walked slowly away. Zhuang Qingning lit another oil lamp and took the soaked soybeans out of the water. Zhuang Qingsui hurried over to help, unable to hold back. She asked, Sister, don't you feel that Aunt Wen was a bit different today? Oh. What do you mean? Usually, Aunt Wen always has a stern face, and her words are often sharp and unpleasant. Today she wasn't being polite but her words were unusually gentle. It's really weird. You, Zhuang Qingning teased, tweaking Zhuang Qingsui's ear, you should be grateful that Aunt Wen was gentle today. Well, it's great. But it was just something she was not used to. Everyone is used to a certain behavior from a person. A sudden change in a person's character feels pretty odd. It always seemed as if anything worse could happen later on. Maybe she had a happy event, Zhuang Qingning laughed. It's nice that Aunt Wen is behaving like this, right? As for the future, we will handle it when the time comes. There's no point in worrying about it now since you don't know what will happen anyway, right? Right, Zhuang Qingsui said after thinking for a while. She found that Zhuang Qingning's words made a lot of sense. So, she quickly helped Zhuang Qingning take all the soybeans out of the water and began to grind them into milk. They were busy late into the night. By the time they finished making the tofu, not all the stars in the sky had faded away. They enjoyed a simple meal with some dry food brought from home. They heated up the leftover soy milk from the night before, creating a nutrient-rich breakfast. They prepared the tofu pudding and tofu that Mrs. Wen would need. As the sky brightened in the east with the break of dawn, the sisters got ready to set out. Days were gradually getting longer in spring, the sky lightened up quickly. By the time they set foot on the main road, the day had already broken. There were many people rushing to work in town at dawn. They often saw fellow travelers and bullock carts hurrying to town. The sisters paid 2 coins to ride a bullock cart. By the time they reached their usual spot for selling products, it was only a few moments past dawn. At this time, not many street vendors were out. Only those selling breakfast, such as fried dough sticks with soy milk, buns, and tofu pudding, were busy attracting customers. At this time, since the streets were sparsely populated, they didn't rush to sell but chose to rest for a bit. If anyone wanted to buy, they would sell their tofu. Zhou Xueming came rushing over with a frown on his face. Seeing Zhuang Qingning, he paused, then exhaled slightly and quickly walked towards her. Miss, I'm here for my 10 caddies of tofu, he said. All right, Zhuang Qingning cut up the tofu niftily, weighed it, and put it into the bamboo basket that Zhou Xueming was holding. Then, she cut another piece of tofu and put it in as well. Since today is your mother's birthday, this piece of tofu is a birthday gift. I wish her good fortune as boundless as the eastern sea and longevity as lasting as the southern mountains. Zhou Xueming had given 12 coins, but Zhuang Qingning felt it was too much and did not want to take advantage. Thus, she returned the favor with tofu. Since it's a birthday gift, it would be improper for me not to accept it. Zhou Xueming took the basket and said, Thank you, miss. My pleasure, Zhuang Qingning responded with a smile. If you find the tofu tasty, please visit us often in the future. Surely, Zhou Xueming promised decisively. Considering there were still many things to do at home, Zhou Xueming didn't linger. After saying goodbye, he picked up the tofu and left hurriedly. Ding, congratulations. The host has completed the filial piety random task, has received 18 hard working points, and a random reward. The host can check it now. Chapter 34, 034 System Bug. Chapter 34, Chapter 034 System Bug. Zhuang Qingning did not hesitate to choose to open and view. Congratulations host for acquiring a novice salted duck egg production secret recipe. Before, to get a novice tofu production secret recipe, it cost 666 hard work points. Begging and negotiating with Xiaowu for so long, using both persuasion and threats, just to get a recipe place on credit. Now, with a wave of her hand, she can get a recipe. This is simply too profitable, isn't it? Zhuang Qingning felt that Xiaowu, this system, was really reliable and great. The system was silent for a while, which surprised Zhuang Qingning. Usually, without even being praised, Xiaowu would brag and show off, but now that she has praised it so openly, Xiaowu is silent. This is not common. Xiaowu, calling Xiaowu. Can I say that there is a bug in this random reward? Logically, rewards for such small tasks are usually fragments, small gifts, or hard work points, and there definitely should not be any secret recipes, like the salted duck egg recipe, which is at least the same price as the tofu recipe. But if it gives them, then it makes them feel at ease. The system allowing the host to obtain more recipes is exactly what could help the host to get rich sooner. This is a truly great thing. So it seems that it's pretty good then. Of course. Zhuang Qingning nodded in affirmation. After consoling the dejected Xiaowu, who was overwhelmed due to the system bug, Zhuang Qingning joyfully bound the novice salted duck egg production recipe and unlocked the novice salted duck egg secret recipe powder. Then she went back to handling the tofu business at hand. The sun gradually ascendant, the town was becoming increasingly crowded, and the roadside stalls were getting busier. Bai San came to buy tofu again, and this time he still wanted 8 pounds. Probably fearing that he would come late and there would be no tofu left to buy, Bai San came much earlier. However, even so, there were only over 10 pounds of tofu remaining in Zhuang Qingning's bamboo basket. This made Bai San frown. From the looks of it, one better start coming earlier in future, or else I really could end up not being able to buy any. I have noticed quite a number of returning customers recently, probably because they find the tofu tasty. But as it is inconvenient to transport the tofu to town, I can only make about 40 pounds a day, so that it doesn't go to waste. Zhuang Qingning explained. There was another reason that Zhuang Qingning didn't mention, and that was the concept of scarcity marketing. Even though the tofu she made tasted wonderful, it didn't have a reputation yet. If she opened up the supply, people might think that the tofu must not taste good since it's always available and thus it doesn't get sold off. Making people always think about buying her tofu felt more like a scarcity marketing strategy. By reminding them that if they didn't come early, they wouldn't be able to buy any, her tofu's reputation of being a tasting good but hard to buy item would naturally be spread through word of mouth. Your tofu sells so well, why would you ever be afraid of not being able to sell it? I think you could sell twice as much. 100 pounds just about does the trick. The auntie who was buying tofu on the side chimed in when she heard Zhuang Qingning's explanation. Young girl, just listen to me and make more. My old self sometimes forgets to buy it at home and can't get any 2 out of 3 times. Not to mention, it's not convenient for you to come all the way to the market and not bring enough tofu to make money, is it? Yes, the auntie has a point. I should make more tomorrow. Zhuang Qingning responded with a smile. Seeing that Zhuang Qingning took her words into account, the auntie felt quite flattered. She was almost overflowing with satisfaction, chuckling away as she paid before finally favorably taking her tofu and leaving. Bai San, who was standing on the side, seemed pensive, then proposed, speaking of the inconvenience of transporting tofu to town, one have to drive the bullock cart to town every day, so how about I pick you up every morning? Looking at where you were waiting for the cart last time, one guess you live in NG Village, right? I live in Bai Family Village. If we go this way, we just happen to be en route. I don't think it's worth the trouble. When I get up in the morning, I can just make a detour to your village, drop you in town, and it won't delay much time at all. Zhuang Qingning had been pondering over the inconvenience of flagging down carts on the road every day. She was considering to find someone in the village who comes to town daily, has a bullock cart, could help her transport the tofu, and has a good reputation. However, she hadn't found a suitable candidate after much thought. But now that Bai San suggested this, she thought it was feasible. That would be very kind. It's just that it would be a bother for Uncle Bai to have to make a detour. Zhuang Qingning replied, we do live in NG Village, just a couple of houses away from the entrance. What's all this talk about it being a bother? Bai San scratched his ear and said, I've also been thinking about having to come here every day just to buy tofu. If I could help you transport the tofu, I could directly take the tofu with me and save myself the trouble. So don't worry about the cart fee, just make sure I can buy tofu from you every day. Bai San said cheerfully. Not taking the cart fee, Zhuang Qingning naturally wouldn't agree. After a round of negotiations with Bai San, they finally agreed upon a time for Bai San to pick them up every morning. As for the cart fee, Bai San agreed not to accept it, but they had to guarantee that he could buy 8 pounds of tofu every day for just 5 coins. In this way, neither side felt they were at a loss, and both gained convenience. Bai San felt that this decision was not bad. After buying his tofu, he left cheerfully. The remaining pounds of tofu sold out quickly. Even though we started a little early today, the tofu still sold out really fast. Considering just the time it took to sell out, it was a quarter hour faster than the large market day yesterday. The tofu business was good, and Zhuang Qingsui was beaming with happiness, so much so that her bright, sparkling eyes were like shining stars. Yes, your tofu really is selling faster and faster. Mrs. Liu agreed. In my opinion, you really do need to make more of this tofu. Also, Zhuang Qingning, don't get discouraged by the incident at Fushun Tower. People living in this world are bound to encounter a few deceitful ones. Even if Fushun Tower failed, you can still try elsewhere. If you can supply to restaurants and shops, your business can grow even bigger. I have been thinking about it. Zhuang Qingning said, I think this time, the waiter at Fushun Tower was able to trick me because one was new and it was assumed that my tofu wouldn't sell well. I was despised and bullied for being eager to sell my tofu. This time I stood my ground and got the money back. Next time if I meet someone more crafty, I'm afraid the money would just be gone. Chapter 35, 035, Childhood Friend Zhuang Wencheng. Chapter 35, Chapter 035, Childhood Friend Zhuang Wencheng. Rather than taking that route, it would be better to slowly make a name for myself selling tofu here. Then, I'd have some confidence when negotiating, and others wouldn't be able to bully me easily. If there are some observant ones, they might even take the initiative to come and buy tofu from me before I approach them. That's true. What you're saying makes sense, Mrs. Liu agreed wholeheartedly after listening. That's how people are. If you chase after them, they become suspicious. But if you seem not to need them, whether you're good or bad, they'll find you attractive. Exactly, Zhuang Qingning also laughed. We need to approach it this way to be successful in this business. As Mrs. Liu looked at Zhuang Qingning, besides her approval, she also felt a hint of admiration. She found it impressive that Zhuang Qingning, despite her young age, had such clarity of thought and decisiveness. She resolved not to underestimate her in the future. After selling all the tofu, the sisters didn't pack up and leave as usual, but decided to stay a little longer. As they remained there, others assumed that there was still tofu for sale and rushed over, only to return disappointed when they learnt that there was no tofu left to buy. I'm sorry, please come earlier tomorrow, apologized Zhuang Qingsui, apologetically waving off another tofu buyer before turning to Zhuang Qingning with a furrowed brow. Sister, aren't we going home yet? If we wait any longer, I'm afraid my face will freeze in a smile. Okay, let's pack up, seeing that it was about time, Zhuang Qingning began to clean up the bamboo baskets and the cloche. Meanwhile, she explained to Zhuang Qingsui, we're staying a little longer today to gauge the demand. So tomorrow we can plan how much tofu to grind to avoid having too little or too much. So we're staying a little longer. Upon hearing that there was a practical reason to stay, Zhuang Qingsui immediately put down the bamboo basket she was carrying on her back. She ignored the rising midday heat and the sweat trickling down her back. Let's go, Zhuang Qingning said with a smile, I've gauged the demand by now, staying any longer won't do us any good, only tires us out. Speaking of which, I passed by that wonton stall yesterday. The wontons were generously filled and the skin was thin. As it's almost noon, shall we have a bowl of wontons before heading home? Great. Zhuang Qingsui narrowed her eyes in glee, quickly gathered their things and accompanied Zhuang Qingning to have wontons. The wonton bowl cost 2 coins and was filled to the brim. After finishing most of it, they even added some fresh broth to it. 1 bowl of wonton soup was enough to fill their hungry bellies. The sisters went shopping after finishing their wontons. In addition to everyday necessities, Zhuang Qingning also purchased some duck eggs and salt from the town market to try making salted duck eggs using the recipe she had obtained. After returning home and putting away their purchases, they followed their routine and went to Mrs. Wen's house to soak some beans. As they arrived at the entrance of Mrs. Wen's house, they noticed a figure coming out. Little Sister Ning. Before Zhuang Qingning could see who it was, the person had already quickly walked up to her. "What are you doing here?" Zhuang Qingning looked up and saw the surprised and delighted face of Zhuang Wenqing. "Brother Wenqing." Zhuang Qingning was also surprised. Zhuang Wenqing was Zhuang Xingxing's brother and Zhuang Xingfu's grandson. He was 14 years old and had been apprenticed at a medical clinic in the county town for almost 5 years now. In theory, he had grown up alongside Zhuang Qingning, frequently playing together as children. They were quite familiar with each other, but distance and gender differences, along with changing circumstances, Zhuang Xingxing moving to the county town and Zhuang Qingning being entrusted to Zhuang Rumen's care, had meant their interactions became few and far between. However, perhaps due to their childhood camaraderie, Zhuang Wenqing frequently thought of Zhuang Qingning and always contrived to give her some snacks whenever he came back. Therefore, Zhuang Qingning was very grateful to Zhuang Wenqing. "I haven't been back for a while, so I took leave from my master and came back to see my parents. Today is my third uncle's death anniversary, so I came back to pay my respects," explained Zhuang Wenqing. Zhuang Qingning blinked her eyes. So that's it, today was Zhuang Xingxing's death anniversary. No wonder Mrs. Wen seemed lost in her thoughts last evening, and her attitude towards them had also softened considerably. Maybe because her deceased husband's death anniversary reminded her of past events and her children's reluctance to live with her. Seeing the sisters must have stirred a motherly tenderness in her heart. Zhuang Wenqing looked at Zhuang Qingning and said, "I heard after coming back that little sister Ning, you've set up a separate household. And you're now living in Butcher Hua's house. Establishing a separate household is a good thing. Whatever you earn will be solely for your own use. Little sister Ning, you're diligent and talented, so you definitely won't starve yourself. However, running a separate household means you'll need to shoulder all the household responsibilities." As Zhuang Wenqing spoke, he lowered his eyes and reached for a small money pouch from his waist, intending to put it into Zhuang Qingning's hand. "I work as an apprentice at the pharmacy in the county town, so I can't earn any profit since I'm not allowed to see patients. I even have to pay an annual fee to my master, so life is somewhat tough for me. And I can't provide much help to you. Over the past few days, I found some time to dig up some herbal medicine and exchange them for some money at the shop. It's not much, but you can keep it. You've just set up your household and are taking care of Sister Sui. Without any farmland of your own, money is needed everywhere." Zhuang Wenqing had initially planned to find Zhuang Qingning after leaving Mrs. Wen's house and give the money to her. Since they met here, it saved him a trip. "I appreciate Brother Wenqing's kindness, but you should keep the money," Zhuang Qingning politely declined with a smile. "Although Qingsui and I don't own any farmland, we have rented Aunt Wen's tofu workshop. We grind tofu every day to sell in town. Although our earnings are modest, they are enough for our daily expenses. Meanwhile, Brother Wenqing, you're living in the county town where expenses are higher. You should keep this money for emergencies. So that's why you're here, you rented Aunt Wen's tofu workshop." Zhuang Wenqing chuckled. "Little sister Ning, you're quite capable, your tofu business must be doing well." The clothes Zhuang Qingning was wearing, though not of high quality, had no patches. Based on Zhuang Rumen and Mrs. Song's character, it was unlikely that they'd provide Zhuang Qingning with such clothes when she set up her own household. Furthermore, Zhuang Qingning looked healthier than the last time Zhuang Wenqing saw her, indicating that her tofu business must be earning her a decent income. As she mentioned, even though the earnings might not be substantial, they would be enough to cover basic necessities. Chapter 36, 036, Despicable. Chapter 36, Chapter 036, Despicable. Zhuang Wenqing understood Zhuang Qingning's nature. She appeared gentle, yet she was also assertive. If she said no, then it meant no. After hesitating for a moment, he reluctantly took back the money. "Okay, if little sister Ning doesn't need this temporarily, I'll keep it for now. But if you encounter any difficulties or need money in the future, don't hesitate to seek me out." "Thank you, Brother Wenqing." Zhuang Qingning smiled with her eyes curving beautifully. Having a playmate who grew up with her and frequently thinks of her, even just this sentiment, made her feel warm inside. Seeing Zhuang Qingning smile, Zhuang Wenqing also grinned. The 14-year-old boy had reached the height of an adult with a mature face, but still possessed the youthful energy and vitality of his age. His smile was radiant, just like the sunlight at this moment. "By the way, you're heading to your third uncle's mother-in-law's place to soak beans, right?" Zhuang Wenqing said. When you go, be careful not to make too much noise. She probably didn't get any sleep last night and is catching up on it now. When I visited earlier, I think I woke her up and got quite an earful. Mrs. Wen's relationship with her children was strained, they would argue whenever they met. It was said she avoided frequent interactions with her children even when it came to offering sacrifices to her deceased husband, she would deliberately avoid their visits. Her children should have visited the grave in the morning, so Mrs. Wen must have gone around midnight. She probably returned in the early morning after a grievous night, so she would be sleeping in the day. Okay, thank you for the reminder, Brother Wenqing. Zhuang Qingning nodded appreciatively. With a broader smile on his face, Zhuang Wenqing reminded, your third uncle's mother-in-law has a temper and often speaks sharply, which can be unpleasant. However, she has a kind heart, and most of her actions aren't intentional. Don't take it to heart. If she behaves unduly or says something over the line, just tell me. I grew up adapting to her outbursts, and she might consider my words. Brother Wenqing. Before Zhuang Wenqing could finish, a clear and loud voice approached from a distance, quickly reaching his side. Zhuang Qinghe ran over with a beaming smile, rudely pushed Zhuang Qingning aside, and grabbed Zhuang Wenqing's arm. Brother Wenqing, when did you come back? Why didn't you let me know? This, Zhuang Wenqing's eyebrows knotted together. Zhuang Qinghe was 2 months older than Zhuang Qingning. She was also one of their playmates since childhood. But Zhuang Qinghe was spoiled by her family and developed a domineering temperament. She relied on being slightly heavier than the average girl and loved to bully other children when she was young. She especially liked to pick on the good-natured Zhuang Qingning. For this reason, Zhuang Wenqing wasn't exactly fond of Zhuang Qinghe, even finding her somewhat annoying. Zhuang Wenqing withdrew his sleeve from her hand without any reaction, but his tone turned chilly. I just got back, even my parents don't know yet. It implicitly meant, since my parents weren't informed, why should you be? Anyone with a bit of sense would understand the meaning behind Zhuang Wenqing's words, but Zhuang Qinghe was as naive as her mother, Mrs. Song. Hearing this, she started laughing. Does that mean Brother Wenqing hasn't seen our parents yet? So, I was the first to see Brother Wenqing before our parents. As she spoke, her cheeks turned red, appearing shy, a perfect imitation of an innocent young girl. Zhuang Wenqing was after all, 14 years of age and having spent many years in the county town, had seen much of the world. He understood her thoughts clearly. He felt an immediate sense of revulsion. I have some matters to attend to at home, so I'll be leaving first. Facing this shameless adhesive, Zhuang Wenqing decided it would be wise to get away. He wanted to remind Zhuang Qingning a few more times not to hesitate to seek his help in case of any trouble. Although he couldn't guarantee a solution every time, he would undoubtedly offer his assistance. However, seeing Zhuang Qinghe standing nearby, eyes gleaming as she looked at him, Zhuang Wenqing worried that if he spoke with Zhuang Qingning, Zhuang Qinghe might cause her trouble. Thus, he swallowed his words. Little sister Ning, little sister He, I'll be leaving now. Zhuang Wenqing decided to leave as quickly as possible. His gentle calling of little sister made Zhuang Qinghe's heart flutter as if a deer was prancing about in her heart. However, the moment she noticed that Zhuang Qingning's name was mentioned before hers, her jovial expression fell abruptly. She was standing closer to him, and Zhuang Qingning was further away. Going by age, she was 2 months older than Zhuang Qingning. Logic dictated that Zhuang Wenqing should have addressed her first. However, he mentioned Zhuang Qingning's name before hers, which was infuriating. As expected, she couldn't draw Brother Wenqing's attention when Zhuang Qingning was around. This girl was always trying to outshine her, flirting with men everywhere with her foxy demeanor. Clearly not good news. Now, she had even successfully manipulated Brother Wenqing to address her first. God knows, she might steal Brother Wenqing's heart soon. Zhuang Qinghe's face was filled with fury as she glared at Zhuang Qingning. Zhuang Qingning originally disliked Zhuang Qinghe and wished to avoid any interaction with her long-standing rival. However, out of respect for Zhuang Wenqing, she resisted the temptation to walk away. Seeing Zhuang Qinghe talking to Zhuang Wenqing, Zhuang Qingning lost interest and ignored the conversation as she pondered how many beans she should soak today. Zhuang Qinghe's glare went unnoticed by Zhuang Qingning. However, Zhuang Wenqing saw it and it weighed upon his heart. After pondering for a moment, Zhuang Wenqing smiled at Zhuang Qinghe. Oh, Qinghe, I just remembered I need to tell you something, can you come with me? Zhuang Qinghe was planning how to get back at Zhuang Qingning when she heard this. Startled initially, she eventually beamed at him and nodded vigorously, "Okay, sure." With glowing cheeks, she promptly followed Zhuang Wenqing. Before leaving, she didn't forget to glance triumphantly at Zhuang Qingning. "So what if Brother Wenqing looks at you more often in the usual days? It's me who occupies his heart. It will be of no use if you keep thinking about Brother Wenqing in the future." Zhuang Qingning guessed Zhuang Qinghe's thoughts and actions but didn't react or pretend to notice. Instead, she walked into Mrs. Wen's courtyard. After all, dealing with someone as brainless as Zhuang Qinghe, if you straightforwardly argue or fight with her, she wouldn't take it seriously. Instead, the silence was more likely to frustrate her. Damn. Part 2 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching and listening. If you find it interesting, please give us a like, a comment and a subscription so that we have the motivation to make the next videos.